Oof. Apologies, guys. The stream started the way the season ended. What a dud. Um, Worst game since Indy last year. Um, just as bad as 13 seconds in its own way, blowing 16 points and 16-point lead against Houston. Um, Going to KC and laying an egg in 2020. Today it's just you're at home, you've got the crowd, you've got the weather, and from the opening drive Cincinnati had, that was pretty much, you could have just ended the script right there. Could have wrote it right there. Just such a just free releases, guys running open all over the place, DBs 5-8 yards off the ball, playing going backwards. And I've looked at every time that this team has gotten beaten under McDermott, under Frazier. They lose the battles up front every time. Any time that they lose like this, Indy last year, Philly in 19, Tennessee in 2020, they just get beaten from pillar to post. And there's not enough nasty on this team. There just really, really isn't. There's not enough dickheads on this team that are just going to stop the bleeding. There's a lot of nice guys. There's good dudes that like playing with each other, good players, but there's not enough dogs. There's just not enough dogs on this team. I'm probably going to be all over the place in this video, so don't expect nothing clear and concise, because you're not going to get it here. I'm just so, like the rest of you, I'm sick to my stomach right now. It took me that long to digest this before I could jump on here. It's almost like they were just waiting to be put out of their misery. That's how bad it was. It was like just Eric, you say that, but you look at the Bills D line today. Shaq Lawson, that guy. I mean, we like him. He likes being a Bill. Been on 4 teams in the 2 years. Jordan Phillips, 3 teams in how many years? To the Bill, from Miami to the Bills to Arizona, back to the Bills. Ilianku, the guy's a practice squad elevation. Now, where you want to talk about the misses, Epinesa had an okay season, but you want more. Basham, I don't know what he is right now. I mean, he's a low second-round pick, but he had a ball hit him in the face mask today. That could have been a big play if he would have held on to that. Ruseo had an uptick in play this year, but outside of that, what are you counting on? You're counting on $100 million 33-year-old free agent signing. That's what you're counting on. And he's he has an ACL. We all know who that is. But you ask me right now, this offseason, I'm not picking up Ed Oliver's 5th-year option. Nice player. I can count both games that he's impacted in a Bills uniform on 2 fingers. Dallas is a rookie. Detroit this year. That's it. He's too light in the ass. He gets moved in the run game. He gets washed up field too much. He just doesn't make enough impact plays for me. The only way this is going to change, they have to make changes, but not many, but the changes they make have to be big. Just not speaking on that, like, there's another guy. People look at me crooked, maybe. I don't know. I've been back and forth on him. I like him as a player. I'm not giving Tremaine Edmonds, Roquan Smith money. I don't think I give any off the ball linebacker that much money. But if I'm going to pay, I'm going to pay for big game changing impact. And he does not do that. He doesn't do it. He doesn't make enough game changing plays for me. You see instinctually how Milano plays. He plays. He was the only guy out there today that I could say that had a pulse. Taryn plays well. Outside of those two, I just didn't see a lot, man. I just didn't see you again, like you said, Chris. It was like even in the second quarter, I'm sure all of us sat there and it's like, who's playing with 3 backup linemen today? Like, wasn't that the whole story? Who's playing with 3 backup linemen? Oh, I think the Bills are. Shaq Lawson's not a starter at the beginning of the year. Daquan Jones was a huge miss today. Huge miss. And I just there was no like, hey, we're going to play with an aggressiveness. There was just too much sit back, soak it up, keep everything in front of us. And Cincinnati was very, very content to say, okay, we're going to just keep coming at you. And they couldn't stop it. And, you know, people talk about Dorsey, and we'll talk about him too. But even last year with KC, there was that whole third quarter where the Bills went 3 and out both times. They get the ball, I believe, at the end of the third or beginning of the fourth, and they hit the big one-shot play to Davis. Right? And that was it. You know, today down the sideline, Allen couldn't hit Davis. Maybe it was a bit of a drop. But again, you look at these plays. Like Cincinnati's like, we got Chase, Jamar Chase. We're just going to give him, like, line him up in the backfield, throw him a 1-yard pass. He's just a top 5 pick who's a national champion. He's got the pedigree. He's going to get his 8 yards. We're going to be staring at 2nd and 2. We got T. Higgins, who's another former national champion, 6'3" and change, 210. And he's going to one-hand catch on the sideline. Boyd, you know, another good player. There was everything for them look easy. Nothing was hard for Cincinnati today. Not a damn thing. It was just all free and easy for them. And they embodied a lot of what the Bills lacked. They don't have a lot of, let's say, they don't have the type of the horses in the middle of the defense, and they don't have backs that are big enough to run behind their pads. Bills have the most finesse running back stable in the league. They don't have one big back that can run behind his pads, calm the game down. We're going to pick up a nice, easy first down here. He's going to pick up a hard 5 to 6. Motor can squeak those out here and there, but he's not going to run anybody over. He's not going to stiff arm anybody. He's not particularly, he doesn't really make people miss as much as you'd like a small guy. He doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield particularly well. There's times where he catches the ball, he's out there lined up wide, and I'm like, he's 5'6", and he runs a 4.6. Nobody's afraid of him. It's almost like a wasted player. The O-line today was awful. They just looked lethargic. They were on skates all day. I don't know that they're cleats. There's no dogs. I'm looking at this game, and at the end of the game, the first thing I'm saying to myself is, this team doesn't have a Richie Incognito type of an asshole on it. A Richie Incognito dickhead. Like just a nasty, surly prick who's going to just start to stir shit up because you need to. Or there's at least on the offensive line, there's not that kind of personality. And that's not a place they've put a lot of resources. They've signed the odd free agent, but they haven't put a lot of resources into that. The defensive line okay, we can have that conversation. But I'm not paying, we go back to that. I'm not paying big money to keep Ed Oliver. I'm not paying big money to keep Tremaine Edmonds. There needs to be they cannot run it back with this same core. They've gotten to this point with this core. This is as far as you go. You want to keep going, you have to change it. You have to change it. And anytime this team gets beat, it gets beat physically. And go back to 2017. It's just their DNA. It's the Saints, and I don't care if the players are different. It's just you can't keep doing the same type of things and expecting different results. You can't do it. You can't do it. I mean, Bean has to look at himself in the mirror. Said, you know what? I paid big money for Star Lotulelei, didn't work. I paid decent money for Trent Murphy, didn't work. I drafted said such and such player, didn't work. Terrell Basham, just you're not getting anything there. Cody Ford on the offensive line, bust. Okay, that's his highest draft pick on the offensive line. The next highest pick was Deion Dawkins. Mitch Morris was his big sign. That was his big sign, and he's been a good player. But you know, that's all it ended up being, was just just one player. I don't even think Spencer Brown had as good a year this year as he did in his rookie year, and his rookie year was injury plagued. Yeah, just a little bit before he signed up. That was a McDermott pick, but and for a team that preaches offensive line depth, versatility, and all this type of stuff, you're not getting it. They don't have their big back is Allen. Their big running back is Allen. They don't have a tight end too. Morris catches one pass every 3 to 4 weeks. Shakir's flashed lately, but it's too little too late. Way too little too late. You could see where the team's desperate, bringing back Smoke and bringing back Beasley, and they contributed a little bit in the last 3 to 4 weeks, but it wasn't enough to stop the bleeding. They just went out there, and I think everything that they've been through as a team this year, before games were even started, whether it's Kim Pagula's illness, whatever it may be, Dawson Knox's brother, the Matariza situation. Week 2, you lose a guy like Hyde. You lose a lot of other players within the first 2 weeks. Oliver gets dinged up in week 1. Phillips, gets hurt celebrating. Fucking Hyde is there. And then next week you go down to Miami with the Heat. So few of the games were about football. Every week it was a different story. It was a different storyline. It was almost like watching this team was like a soap opera. It was a soap opera. It was just like the weather, the cancellation, a player pretty much almost dying on a field. The list goes on. Injuries. I just think, again, there needs to be an infusion on this team, coaching wise and player wise. There needs to be something, because there's not enough nasty on this team. I don't know about coaches because I'm not there. Read some of your comments, guys. Yeah, I just think that there's only so many times you can do that. That they haven't played a crisp game all year. They really haven't. Maybe week 2 against the Titans, that was a good game, but outside of that, they haven't been crisp all year. They haven't had a crisp game all year. Week 1, but still there was 3 turnovers in that game. They survived. It was one of those games. They survived 3 turnovers and beat a team, soft on champagne. Don't apologize for wins ever. But I knew the Bills were going to win against the Rams that day. That's like, this team's soft on champagne. They're in their house. They can beat this team. That window thing, dude, is just such media nomenclature. Like, it's such just like, let's just word play it, like window closing. When does a team with a really good quarterback have a window close? Seasons are so organic. People get hurt. Mahomes has a high ankle sprain, for Christ's sake. That's going to affect the game. The Bills were ready to play that day. It's that they were not ready to play, dude. They were just not ready to play, man. Then you're talking about one dude. You're talking about one dude. Damn Bills guy, one dude. They need another receiver, that's for sure. They need another receiver because they can't have, Beasley, had his day, made a few nice catches in this game. Brown wasn't active, of course, but there's just certain guys they need to move on from. There's just certain guys. It's time. The time has come and gone, and they need to either move on from them in free agency or just basically like find a way to move them via trade. I look to trade Oliver. And people think I'm knee jerking. I'm not. Doesn't make enough big plays for me. He doesn't make enough. He doesn't make enough splash plays. Like I can think of other linemen that affect games, that make big time plays. Simmons down in Tennessee, Buckner for the Colts, Christian Wilkins. He doesn't get the sack numbers, but he makes a lot of plays in the run game. Makes a lot of plays in the run game. He's a nasty son of a bitch. He plays with an edge. That just, there's certain guys like that. You need assholes. Like today, like for example, people say, "Oh, Tremaine Edmonds this, Tremaine Edmonds that." Oh, look, the best off the ball linebackers in this league. You had Fred Warner, who's a 3rd-round pick, running stride for stride down the field with fucking CeeDee Lamb before. Logan Wilson on the other side of the ball today. It's a solid player. That's a 3rd-round pick. Shaq Leonard in Indy. That's a 2nd-round pick. There's a few. There's a few that sting, but you can't do nothing about that now. They have to figure out what they're going to do going forward, and they just can't pay people that are to stay status quo and like, oh, we drafted them, we like them. No, you have to mix things up. There needs to be a personality change on this team. There needs to be a bit of a, like, I think everybody's a little too cozy. That's my personal thing. The whole family thing, the liking each other, loving each other thing is nice, but the saying, complacency breeds contempt. There's no way they're touching that guy. Why? So get that out of your head. And that guy's gone long time. Poyer, age, injuries, money, do the math. He's 6 great years with the team. Hats off to him. But Daquan Jones, again, was a big miss today. Quiet, lunch pail guy, plays hard, hard to move. Diggs was just pissed on the sideline. That shit happens a lot during games, man. And just the camera caught him. Everybody's going to make a big deal about it. It's just there just needs to be changes. Again, They're not. I'm not talking about sweeping, but they need to be good size changes. There's some certain guys that are just cozy, and there's a certain guys. It's like we need a personality, a little bit of a different personality on this team. And I'm going to sound like a broken record because I'm going to say it all off season until I see it. I need to see them do it. I need to see them vote with their checkbook or not. Yeah, he hasn't gotten the ball. Everything everything looked hard for the Bills. Everything looked super easy for Cincinnati. And that's game plan, I would say. I think perimeter talent was on full display today. I look at a guy like DJ Reader who clogs the fucking middle for them. He was in that fucking. I'm gonna sneeze, so if I sneeze, just bear with me. He was on that defensive line in Tennessee. I'm sorry, Houston in 2019. Hendrickson, Hubbard, and on offense, the scheme also. The last 4 or 5 weeks, how many free runners have been able to just have a clean shot at Allen? Do we not have a scheme that backs pick up blitzers, or there can be an adjustment or a quick anything quick, any easy outlets, any options? I mean, I don't think they're ever been rated. I think they're solid. I don't think they're the best in the league. I don't know where he can say overrated. I mean, Diggs is a top 5, top 8, top 10 wide receiver. Nobody's saying Gabe Davis was a Pro Bowler, so him saying that, it's like, who's the third guy? McKenzie. Their third guy is fucking Boyd. Like, obviously they're better. Yeah, dude, that touchdown was a microcosm of the entire game. How the fuck that guy in particular got that wide open is like, you realize that guy's their number one receiver, and he had the easiest touchdown you're ever going to score. How about the second one where they bit the cheese? They said, "Oh yeah, you guys are super scared of him now." They threw it. Milano bit down. Poyer came over late, and then you got a 6'6" Hayden Hurst who turned into fucking Russ Francis. Well, that's way before your guys' time. Let's just say Rob Gronkowski light today and fucking scored another easy touchdown. It was just easy. This easy pitch and catch. Like, Burrow took one deep shot all game. One deep shot. That was incomplete. And I'm not even going to bitch about the refs today. I'm really not, because the Bills did nothing for me to bitch about the refs today. Milano bit on that hard, Jake. If you go back and watch it, I know Poyer was a step late. That's a 6'6" dude running to the flat. You gotta close that shit down. You can't have those guys getting free releases. That's why I respect Baltimore's game plan against them. They say, you know what? We're not going to die by a 1,000 cuts. If you drive down the field, you're going to earn that shit. We're not going to give you free releases, easy access to the second level. We're not going to do that shit. We're going to bump you. We're going to hit you. We're going to do that all fucking game. That's why I wanted Benford active today, because he gives them size. He gives them physicality. Elam gives them that. I'm going to tell you another thing too. Maybe I don't know if this will shock you, but there needs to be changes and there needs to be money made available. I think personally, I would try, if I can, to trade Trey White. And the reason I say that is he's 28. He's not particularly big. He's not particularly fast anymore. He's older. And You drafted Elam first in the first round. You have Benford, you have Dane. You showed you could play. You could play high-end defense last year, and you gotta make you've got to change. You've got to infuse youth into that side of the ball. They look slow today. Today they look slow. He came back in the game, Bowman, but I think that was it for Poyer though. Poyer was back in the he yeah, that I mean, he's got maybe a few more good seasons in him, but I don't think they're. I'm not paying Edmonds, Hussein. I'm not paying Edmonds. I'm not paying Edmonds, and I don't think the head coach's offensive mind has any or lack thereof has anything to do with it. I think they don't have the horses to run with the like I said. Look at Chase, Jamar Chase. Easy little 1-yard pass. That guy's a stud. He's going to beat you. Our second round pick, who we hit on, is a stud. He's going to beat you. Higgins, you're scared of him. Boyd, another, I think he's a third or fourth round, but still good. Our third receiver is either a guy they pulled off the street or Isaiah McKenzie. Not good enough. Not good enough. Not good enough. I just don't think they have the horses. That's it. I think it's a horse deal, not a scheme deal. Like getting behind your pads and not getting moved. That's a player. Getting blown off the ball, not holding your blocks. That's a player. That's let's say a scheme thing. That's a player. You know, how many missed tackles did we see out there today? A lot of missed tackles. I saw a lot of missed tackles today. We don't have one. I said it in the beginning before, 24 people and, thank you. We have the most light in the ass backfield in the whole NFL. Like name one back that's going to, play some muscle ball, break a tackle, run behind his pads, carry a pile. All our backs are barely 200 pounds. Well, he was under duress, dude. How's he supposed to put anything together when he's getting fucking blitzkrieged all fucking game? Free runners. That's not this game. How many guys has just blindsided him in the last few weeks? The offensive line was awful. He had a former, I retweeted this. So former Bills lineman. I don't know if you guys remember him, John Davis. He played guard back in the 90s. He retired because of a knee. And he's like, look, I'm a former offensive washed up lineman, and that's embarrassing. Because it was nothing easy. Nothing. Everything looked hard. No. You can, he was a disappointment, Eric. I saw that. I'm sorry to get to it. Yeah, he was bad. He was not good all year. There's a lot of guys I don't know about the scheme. He just doesn't play fast. He doesn't play instinctually. He wins when he wins because of his length. But I think his size and more particularly his height is a disadvantage to him at a lot of times because he gets out leveraged. He can't get low enough to just get low on guys to tackle him down. He ends up getting carried a lot of times. He's slow turning his hips. He doesn't play with a lot of instinctual bursts like you see Milano. He's on plays quick because he plays with instincts. And he doesn't play with instincts. He plays with athleticism, and those are two different things. Yeah, I think you have to move on anyway, Eric. You can't pay $20 million. Hussein, what's he gonna do? Cry? He's. I think we expect these guys to do certain things. Like Diggs is frustrated on the sideline. Everybody's like when we see emotion, it's an issue. If we don't see emotion, it's an issue. It's like Every human compartmentalizes that shit differently. I don't remember him crying, but if he did, I don't doubt it. 13 seconds in this game is completely different. You can't make guys play, bro. They didn't look like physically on both sides of the ball. They didn't want to play. They just got whipped. I don't know. Were they listening to the media? Oh, they have 3 back. Apparently, Cincinnati did. They didn't give a fuck. I mean, and that narrative, you know, about fuck again. I took this last year with Sean Payton. Like, what has Sean Payton done in the last 13 years, 14 years? Didn't he have like 3 straight 7-9s in Drew Brees' prime? And Bills fans, like, they just, I know I'm being a little hyperbolic right now, maybe, but like, look back a little bit at Sean Payton. I mean, Jesus Christ. Look at their cap situation right now. They have nobody. They're like 90 million deep. He's not a culpable for that. He left that shit high and dry. Yeah, let's bring him in. Gonna Jesus Christ. Well, that's the thing is, oh, dude, crazy. I'm sitting here talking about changes. And I said the same thing. You just, again, addition by subtraction. Which I don't know if you were in. The best off the ball linebackers are all, to me, in my opinion, second round picks, third round picks. Nick Bolton and KC, that's a second round pick. Fucking, got a guy on right now, third round pick. The guy that was across the ball today, Wilson, third round pick. Shaq Leonard, tennis in Indy, second round pick. Find one. Yeah, Johnny, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but they need to freshen things up. They can't run it back. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if they change Frazier out. If anything, I could see him retiring. But there needs to be, changes. And if you look at the way the Bills defensive line was today, I mean, I know Oliver's playing with a little bit of an arm, but that, to me, everybody's was banged up today. I mean, everybody in the league is banged up. So that's no excuse. That's one. Two, it's like Shaq. I said Shaq Lawson, everybody, nice story. We all like him, likes being a Bill. That guy's a journeyman player. Jordan Phillips is a journeyman player on a 1-year. Ilianku is a practice squad guy. So it's not like the Bills D line, it was world beaters out there today. They didn't feel, but they played like shit. What if I'm the GM? I'm gonna draft the guy that I can give the ball to, that can change a game or settle a game down. But that's so many moving parts. Do I see him as a problem, Brian? They were outplayed on the field. I don't want to say they were outcoached. They were outplayed on the field. He talked to the girl at the side at halftime and said he was pissed they're not doing anything well. What's the saying? You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I'm sorry, Hussein. I see your comment. I can understand, man. It's just they just don't have the horses. I mean, again, look, Gabe Davis, we love him, but you got T. Higgins on the other side of the ball, Boyd. You've got Jamar Chase. They've got horses. They've got fucking thoroughbreds over there. The window idea is insane. To me, that window thing is just media speak. It's the stupidest term I've ever seen in my life. Like, window shut. Can't win no more. You know what we can dispel now though, which is really, really fucking nice and in a stupid way. I wish they could have fucking kept it going. I would have cared less about these psychos. The NFL's not rigged, guys. It's not fixed. There's not all this numerology symbolism going on with the threes and all this cuckoo wacky shit to have the Bills win and have some glorious uprising, like fucking up through the ashes because everybody had to be on their knee. You know, it was just this weird, it was that, I mean, the shit that I've been seeing was just, oh my God, was just like, all right, I believe in some shit. And I think there's some crazy shit out there, but there's other shit I see. It's just like, but today was not that day. You got to go earn those points. It's not, nobody's gonna. I think we all were, but there was no time to make a play, and there's nobody else that could make a play. You know, it's like the one guy I feel like, you know, for Josh to make a play, or I'm sorry, for Diggs to make a play, he has to get Diggs the ball. For, you know, like them, again, the one couple of times P Ryan got the ball, he made plays. I haven't even looked at the fucking box score yet, for Christ's sake. But fucking Mixon, they made it easy on him. That O line, you know what we're gonna do, guys? We're gonna get rid of the ball quick. We're not gonna hold on to the ball long, and we're gonna just move people. That's all you fucking have to do. Move people. And that's what they did. I'll read some of your comments, guys. It seems like the only guy that gets that is Shakir, which is crazy. Well, they had Boyd on the field too. It's not like they could come out of it. The tackling was terrible today. Easy day for him, Zach. Easy day. But he ran hard and he gained. Again, he had run, one run where he got tackled for loss. And there was like somebody put one of the next gen charts on Twitter. He averaged 2.6 before he was touched. 2.6. So basically all the dude had to do was take one stride, fall forward. It was a 5-yard clip. I think that was the Davis one that he took the shot. But it was, yeah, Jake, I'm gonna say that I agree with you. Like the game plan, like you look at the Ravens game plan, and they're like they kind of like, you know what? If they beat us, they beat us, but we're gonna hammer them. We're gonna make them earn their fucking. They're gonna know they played a fucking game today. And I thought honestly, I was like that physicality might, you know, shit. I think the Bengal, and they did. They lost the lineman. They were banged up. Didn't matter. That it was just like, hey, that got them ready for this week. That got them ready because their backup line had to play. So they were ready to go. They played half of that game last week against the Ravens. They get on the field today with the Bills, and it's like, oh shit, this is it. We'll be fine. These guys ain't up for it. You feel these motherfuckers? Like I said, Johnny. So again, Jake, the same thing. I think there needs to be a change on this team, coaching and attitude and player wise. And I'm not saying that there's bad attitudes. There needs to be bad attitudes. And what I mean by that is dickheads. They don't have dickhead like nasty guys on this team. A Richie Incognito personality, a Christian Wilkins type of personality, a fucking just a nasty son of a bitch that's willing to just, you know what, get ugly. That's a violent fucking game. I'm 5-0, 100 and nothing, but I felt like shit. Like that, man. Maybe I'll get fucked up out there, but they they just let themselves get fucking boat raced out there today. Yeah, Hussein. I said that earlier in the thing. You're right. It's like we have a bunch of guys. They like playing together. They have a nice, cozy team environment, and that's nice. But that's a very the shelf life of that is very finite and incremental. There needs to be a monkey. Like they need to like Bean, McDermott, and the brain trust need to sit down and say, you know what, this core has to be shuffled. We need to ruffle feathers here. We need to ruffle feathers. There needs to be, we need to say like, hey, like we went out there and it looked easy. I don't know if they move on from Frazier, but if he wants to retire, I won't stop him. I don't think he's been terrible, but I also think that for the most part, he doesn't allow the DBs to play free. And what I mean by that is you've got to single them up sometimes. You can't play you can't give teams 5-yard free releases every fucking game and just be like, you know what? At least they didn't run past us. At least they didn't run past us. So I'd rather a team run past me once, okay, if they score, but instead of taking 7 minutes, seven and a half minutes off the fucking clock and them scoring anyway, at least I have time. At least I have time. At least we have fucking time. They got it quick, but you know what? It left us a bunch of time. How many out of the last how many weeks now? How many out of the last however many weeks? I think maybe last week was the only time. But I can't think of another time. It just seemed like the opposing team's first possession right down the field. At some point, you got to say, like, we got to change something with our openers. Our openers on defense are not good because the team is just driving the ball right down the field and they're scoring. And the Bills would they tighten it up a little bit once a team got on the fringe, but you can't live like that all the time. It got to the point where I'm like, you can 3-and-out a team too, right? You can 3-and-out a team too. You can make a team go 3-and-out. That's not illegal. You don't have to play zone all the time. You don't have to give 5-yard cushions all the time, 7-yard cushions because they might run past you. There was that one 3rd and 4. Bengals are in the shadow of the end zone. I don't know if they scored a touchdown, but it was like all Chase has to do is take 2 steps and turn around, and it's a first down. And I forget which. I think it was Dane Jackson was like 7 yards off of him. I'm like, are you fucking nuts? Make him like earn that shit. If he gets it, he gets it, but make him earn it. Was that Trey? It might have been Zach. Well, that was the cameras catching him then. I don't think he stopped him. I mean, I can't imagine what these guys do that we don't see. The 13 seconds defense. That's the 5-yard free release defense is what it is. I'm going to read some comments, guys. Yeah, I mean, there's a few things I don't like that. I get why they do it. I don't like that they do it sometimes. Like, eventually, you just have to let the young guys run, like Elam and Dane. Dane's a 7th round pick. You invested a 1st round pick. You traded up for Elam. Let him play. Let him fucking play. Let him play. Let him. This is your 1st round pick, right? Trey got on the field like that. I know the team was in a different spot, but you can't play shook. Everybody else is playing a backup at some point. He's not a backup. You drafted him in the 1st round for a reason. You said this when you traded up to get him. You said this guy. We believe in this guy. Same thing with Cook. They didn't trade up, but you have a running back who's going to hit the street. You feel like this guy can change games for you. He's the guy that I don't care. I don't give a fuck. He fumbled once all year. Motor fumbled 5 fucking times. Okay. I'm not going to lose with guys that I'm going to let the new guy get the shit out of his system. That's the shit that gets me irritated. If they needed a receiver earlier, they should have went and traded for one. Your D-line was exposed. D-line was terrible today. It's like they're a bunch of backups. Von Miller's out. Daquan Jones is inactive. I don't know how healthy Oliver is or isn't. He's beat up. Shaq is a journeyman. Fucking Jordan Phillips has got like a torn labrum, a torn rotator cuff. He's a mess physically. Like, so Ilianku's a practice squad player. It's not like the Bills D-line was some world beater. You know, it's not like Philly out there 70 sacks. Jesus Christ. I think Elam started today. I just don't like the cushions. I mean, but again, if those guys are going to beat you, they're going to fucking beat you. They're good. That's why Baltimore gives them tough games, is because they match their physicality. They won't, if they lose, but they're not going to be like, hey, you know, just gonna run past us. Well, Miller, I mean, obviously not going to get Miller back. Yeah, way too much respect. Way too much. You know what? There's not enough like swag. It's like they got to play us. That whole they got to play us type of mentality. I mean, Greg, they got to sit down and figure it out. They've got to sit down and figure it out. I just think they're too passive. I don't think Fangio's a fix because he plays he plays a 3-4, and McDermott is a 4-3 guy. You want to get more physical 4-3 players? I'm all for it. I want to draft younger, more physical people. I want to draft a physical running back. I want to draft more physical offensive linemen. I want to draft a bigger receiver. I want to draft a big physical defensive tackle, and I want to draft a linebacker who can play in space instinctually. He can play. He doesn't have to be some crazy stopwatch asshole or some, you know, physically looking big dude. Give me 6'1", 235, 240 with instincts, and I'll figure something out. Number 54 in the middle of the field was a 3rd round pick. You can find these guys. You can find them. You know. And yeah, this Eric, you say that it's a similar thing that Jake said. It's just like, stop playing every team like they're Patrick Mahomes. Play downhill. Like teams, they're playing downhill against the Bills. Like, they're playing downhill. Like, just, hey, I'm gonna 5th round pick. 5th round pick. Like, find one. I'm going to try to move Oliver. I'm not paying Edmonds. I'm going to try to trade Trey. Those are my. Well, the line wasn't getting any movement. It's Singletary, you know, was playing. Just some things I see, I just think, like, scheme wise, they just tried. I do feel like that there was an element of, hey, Allen's going to bail us out. Like, we need him to bail us out. There's not a lot of help. There's no stupid question, dude. This is not there's not one of these rooms. This is not one of these rooms where people talk down to other people. Like, I'm not some football aficionado. Off the ball linebacker is basically anybody that doesn't sit on the edge. Like, you count on him to just play his responsibility. He has to cover hopefully play sideline to sideline. He's got run pass responsibilities off the ball. Milano, Fred Warner, Shaq Leonard, Logan Wilson, those are off the ball linebackers. No, no, I wouldn't, because again, that's the same thing as off the ball linebacker. If you're going to draft Quinnen Williams, you're doing that in the third round. Chris Jones is a second round pick. Like, you can find these type of DJ Reader is what, a third or fifth round pick. Like, you can find dudes out there, and you can find guys. Like, you can draft dudes but you got to hit on them. That's the key, is you have to hit on them. I'm not drafting that position high. It's a rotational position. I'm not drafting. If you're a rotational player for the Bills, I'm not drafting you in the first round. You need to be on the fucking field. You need to stay. Your ass needs to stay on the field. That's wide receivers, offensive linemen, fucking corners, or a safety. But there's no safety like that in this draft. Somebody like that. That's what I'm drafting. Suicide question. Nah, man. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it, Eric. This is their track record, but they have to. Oh, they didn't get that play, so this is pretty much over for the Cowboys. I know their history, but they have to change it. They have to do something different. They've invested in players. I think it's time to shake up the core. You got this core. You brought some guys back. It was like they brought half the old team back in the early part of the season and half of the old team back in the second half of the season. Like, you bring Shaq, back, you bring Phillips back, and everybody's like, oh yeah, those guys, nice thing. And then you bring back, AJ Klein, Dean Marlowe, Beasley, John Brown. Again, you're just plugging, trying to plug gaps in a dike. It's eventually the dam is going to break. They don't play an edge game. They play a space game. Off the ball linebackers play space games. They play games in space. They don't come off the field at all. Like, TJ Watt is not an off the ball linebacker. He's an edge linebacker. He can drop into coverage, but he really often doesn't. He has edge responsibilities, pass rush responsibilities. We need more physical defensive linemen. Let's go. That's what we need. We need guys that are just nasty. Yeah, and that's bad, Eric. That's bad. I knew Rousseau was playing well. He had the high ankle sprain, had to miss a few games, but they in the middle, they're just not physical enough, and they don't play downhill enough, which is not good. They treat, again, you touched on it, Eric, Jake touched on it. There's too much of there's no need to pay at some point. You gotta say, you know what, we're the better team, and we're gonna play like it. We gotta act like it. Yeah, Roger Saffold he's a one and done, but he's not a good one and done. Well, that's gonna end this. That was a terrible last play for the Cowboys. Holy shit. I don't think they have enough. I think there's a few guys with attitude. I just don't think there's enough, and different ones, because eventually all these guys, like I've been saying, they've been together for so long. Like, you bring back Shaq, you bring back Jordan 3 years later, and then you bring back, Smoke and Beasley and Marlowe and AJ Klein. There needs to be you invigorate. Like, when people say, like, oh, you got to turn the roster, I think that's a good thing. because like I said earlier, complacency breeds contempt. You can get new people to buy in, but it's a different type of buy-in. It's like, hey, like I'm bringing something different to this team. Like I'm a dickhead. I like being a dickhead. I'm not out there to make friends. I'm not out there to swap fucking jerseys. I'm not out there to take pictures. I'm not out there to hang out with these motherfuckers after in the off season and try to go get girls and fucking and go to the fucking Caymans or the Bahamas or Nassau, wherever the fuck. I'm out there to fucking kick ass, take names, and go do me on my own. That's what I'm looking for. But eventually, though, that well runs dry, Tim. That well runs dry. That well is, it's evaporated. There's no more of that. Yeah, I don't have a stake in the horse now. Just as long as the NFC wins, I'll root for the NFC. That's who I'll root for. But again, this you can be loyal, but those guys are running out. They're either they're old and their playing ability is, or they're gonna retire, or they can't you can't resign them. It's like we're talking about, like, I can't give Jordan Poyer 10, 12, 15 million dollars for 1 year. I can't do that. I can't do that. They have to figure out what, again, is Hamlin going to play again? They have to figure that out. They have to figure out if he can play again. He was only in his second year, forced into action week 3. I mean, he was doing okay. He wasn't a liability. He made a few good, he had that big forced fumble at the end of the Jets game. He made plays. He got beat a little bit, but it wasn't that's a situation they have to figure out. Yeah, bro. I really wish they did, Eric. I really wish, crazy. I'm sorry. They can move some things around there, Eric. I think that's fine. Yeah, I mean, he's an okay player. You'd like to think he could get better, but I look at, like Sans KC. Everybody else ran into a dude that was like a holy shit good, like because of maybe they had a bad season, or they just have guys. Like, you look at the Eagles team, they still have dudes left over from that Super Bowl run. They have Lane Johnson, who's the best right tackle in football. They have just a mauler offensive line. Then they go out and make the AJ Brown trade. They have a bad year. They get Devontae Smith, who's a game changer. And then, they have an okay year last year, but then they get Jordan Davis. So they were able to reload in a different kind of way, and that helped them. It's just like Cincinnati. They draft Burrow. You starting out with a rookie quarterback, but they have the full tenants. They draft high enough to get Chase. But that year that they got Burrow, they were bad. What did they do? They already had Boyd in house. They drafted Higgins. And then they spent a bunch of money on their line. Not saying it was good, bad, or indifferent. It remains to be seen. But they were able to get horses in different ways. The Bills aren't going to draft high. They're going to draft 27th. And you can't be a defensive head coach, to me, with you can play smart, but you can't, to me, like, I just, this is the way I'm wired. I think there's certain plays and I know they pick their spots when they choose to be aggressive and choose not to be, but when you have a diminished roster injury wise, age wise, and I think temporary or long-term injury. Because you say what you want about Poyer. It's playing with fucking torn. His knee is not right. His elbow wasn't right all year. Got hurt I think the first contact practice we had, his elbow was completely dislocated. Well, he's just again, they gave him. I mean, I just laid out crazy all the big time weapons he has on the perimeter, and the Bills are playing tentative because of that. And you had to pick your poison. You had to pick your poison. And I agree, Tim. You have Elam, play him. I like what I see. I like what I seen from Benford. And he didn't get on the field. I was pissed. The last 3 weeks he's been inactive. Why? So to have Cam Lewis covering kicks, like I'd rather have Benford in case one of my DBs go down like they did when Poyer ran into White. There're just certain scenes in games it's not your day. And today that was the scene for me. It's like they not only get the pass interference, they're I mean, you have White and Hyde just basically knocking each other out on one play. And if you can encapsulate the whole game in one moment, that was it. Seriously, that was it. I read some of your comments, guys. With the Q wouldn't an off again. There's been Belichick as a defensive head coach, bro. There's it's been done different ways over different periods of time. I get it, but he's not going anywhere. So I want to think about things that can happen rather than things that aren't going to happen. I was frustrated, Trevor. He was frustrated. I would be frustrated too. They got every bounce, but the Bills did themselves no favors, and we're all in shock that they played like that, man. They just, but they need to ruffle feathers there. They just really need to ruffle feathers, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean they just again, team environment, cozy. I sound like a broken record, and that's good. They're 13-3. Obviously, they're doing something right, but it's not enough once it gets to this time of year, and that's what they need. They need to change. Well, it's 50-50. Like Gabe Davis, they trusted right off the rip. He played a lot as a rookie. Spencer Brown replaced a veteran. So it's I think it's different strokes with different folks. I mean I can cite examples where I'm contradicting myself, but I also feel like hey, there's a certain point in time. It's like hey, you have this, you have that, you have to go. You have to let them go. Uh, they haven't announced that yet. Generally, Eric, that's Tuesday or Wednesday. I would say it's probably going to be Tuesday or Wednesday. Um, that's generally what they do, but I'm just talking about things that are more. Well, when he was a rookie, he played. He played. I mean, everybody felt like having Emmanuel Sanders there held Gabe back. Gabe has the big game. He scores. I think he scored one or two touchdowns against the Patriots, and then he goes and scores the four against KC. Let me read some of your comments, guys. So with what you saw on both sides of the line, the lack of talent in the secondary side of Diggs. Again, like I think the secondary has some good young players. I think Elam's a good young player. I think Dane's a solid backup corner. He can play and start for you. He's proven that. And I like what I saw from Benford. I want to move. I want to try to move Trey. He's 28. He's not a physical freak corner. He's a good corner. Maybe he's still a top 10 corner, top 15. He makes a good change. He makes good money. And he said something when his first interview back. If you go back and watch it, he said something that kind of it didn't irk me. It made me like And he was like, when Hamlin went down, he was the most visibly upset. Like he was despondent. And I just I remember the Tennessee game where he had the back injury. I don't think he went on the be on the field with the team because they said that the team was riddled with COVID. And then he said I learned that I can do things other than cover receivers. And part of me was like, but that's what you're paid a lot of money to do right now. And when somebody starts talking like that, maybe I'm a dickhead. I don't like that. I don't like that. I know the guy's coming back off an injury, and I've tweaked things just working out, and it's like, damn, you have to trust that shit. I've never torn an ACL. I can't imagine what that's like. So far be it from me to question it, but I'm gonna question it. I'm not getting paid 17 million to work out either. He's getting paid 17 million to play football. I need to yes, Hussein, you can do that. It's fine. You could raise him to be a Jet fan or a Giant fan since you live around here, and I don't know if you want to do that. Yeah, I mean, for me, like it's the money, it's the age. You drafted a young player in the first round. I think you need to that's where you go. There's a few players. If I say to you now they can trade White, they move on for they don't re-sign Tremaine, they don't re-sign Jordan, and they can trade Oliver. Is that not seismic change to a defense? I think that's pretty seismic change. On the line there's going to be seismic changes. I could see, especially having suffered a concussion like 3 weeks ago, I could see Morris retiring. I definitely Saffold is a one and done. I think Bates is a better center than he is a guard. I don't know if Bucker's still under contract, but you got to figure something out in the eh, I like sports, bro. Sometimes I just think that the emotions hurt us so bad. It's like we want to be pain free all the time. And I was like, pain is the realest emotion you can feel, man. Because the only way to feel the happiness is you got to risk feeling pain. And that's part of it, man. Let me read some of your comments, guys. I don't know if we peaked under McDermott or McDermott needs to assess. Yeah, that's exactly what he needs to make some really hard decisions. Obviously, more talent is needed in certain areas. We know where they are. Where none of us are dummies here. I'm not dealing with nobody here is a village idiot. Yeah, he's not that Hussein. He's just not. And I know he was playing with a labrum. Well, not a labrum. That's Phillips. Like a pec strain. But he's not a game changer. He's a top 10 pick who's probably gonna, if you want to franchise him, or I'm not saying franchise him. If you want to put the 5th-year option on him, that's a big number. I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that. Yeah, Spencer Brown, I know he had the back surgery in the offseason. I mean, he was shaky this year. And I was a big fan of his. I felt he had a much bigger impact as a rookie. I was going to touch on some other things coaching wise. This whole thing that they got going on between Dorsey, Cromer, that needs to be figured out because the Cromer thing doesn't match the Dorsey thing. The type of linemen that they have now don't match what they used to do. The type of linemen they have now don't match what I think Dorsey wants to do. Because if you look at what happened last night to the Giants, that's a Brian Daboll team, and what happened to them? And he was with the Bills for 4 solid years, right? We watched a former team coordinated by that same man, right, lose in the exact same way. They got beat on both sides of the ball. They have Saquon Barkley. They gave him 9 carries. You know, I agree, Jordan. It was like terrible. They Shaq Lawson is another regime's pick, but he's a journeyman. He's a journeyman. He's not a stalwart, but you have Oliver. You don't have Daquan Jones. That was the big one. But again, Basham, Ruseo, Epinesa, those are your guys. And they're not changing games. Yeah, I mean, and Wilkinson affects the game, whether it's psychologically, physically, he affects the game. He affects it in the run game. He affects it in the mental game. And I just don't see Oliver doing that. I just don't. Yeah, it's they just do not. That's something they do not do, and they have not done for a long time, which is insane. Let me read some of your comments, guys. My eyes are not the best, so that's why I'm squinting. Um, they need a more talented running back. That's what they need. They need a guy that, aside from Motor, I think Cook is a good guy, but he's not a horse. They need a horse. They need a guy that, can stabilize a game, scare a team, intermediate and long, in the sense, this guy can run past us or he could run through us. I know those guys aren't abundant, but they're there. Find one. Oliver secretly cares about stats. I think a lot of the guys do, to be honest, Utz. I think a lot of the guys do, but he just doesn't impact the game enough. I can't pay him, Steve. I think his body is breaking down, and he's physically, he's not the same guy. I just can't give him $10+ million. I couldn't do it. You got to make hard decisions. You just gotta do it at some point. It's crazy to say, you have that much invested. And I thought they had 9 defense. And think about this. They had 9 defensive linemen up today. 9. That was the I think they've only done that one other time this year. And they just got moved. They just got moved. And they just couldn't do anything. The defense for Cincinnati, they just moved the line right into Allen's lap. DJ Reader blew up the middle of the Bills defense with ease. That's a 5th round pick. A homeboy, Hubbard, was just taking the tackle right back into his lap. Right back into his lap. There was nothing he could do. They were on skates. I don't know if they needed to change their cleats or what, but they were just on skates. It seemed like once Cincinnati got in their if they wanted movement in the run game, they got it. They wanted to stabilize and pass sets, they had it. But then again, Burrow wasn't back there scanning the field. They had one clean hit on him all game. I believe that was with Milano. And then the other one was where I think Shaq Lawson got pushed into his ankle where it looked like he was hurt. You don't want him to get too big, Utz. You don't want him to lose what he is. I think he'll put on 5, which is a lot of lean mass. You can put on a sloppy 15 real fast. You don't want to do that. I read some of your comments, guys. I'm sorry. I think he can be, good. I think he can still be a good player, and the threat of him with the knee, just make sure he's good. I think he could still be an impact player. Yeah, it is. It is. It is. It is sad, Johnny. I'll agree with that. I'm not sitting here that there's culpability. There's culpability, and there's been flaws in the roster, and there's been you know the roster construction hasn't been it's been good in some areas and it's not been great in others, and they have to figure out what's not been great. And it's pretty obvious what's not great. It's not, but they have to do something about it. That's the thing. Is like, oh, we draft. No, no, no. The one thing I will say is Bean has shown he will move guys. Like, hey, this, we can't pay you. They didn't pay Phillips. He had 9.5 sacks. I know they didn't drafted him, but they didn't pay him. They let him move on. I don't know if they move on from Tremaine. I hope, honestly, in my opinion, it might be hard for them, but I think they should. I think that's just another. They live in Miami all off season, man. She goes back and forth there. I don't think that plays a factor. Yeah, they were not. They were not. That's definitely apparent. I just think Poyer, he's had his nice run with the team. Love the guy. He's had a great run. I just think there needs to be like, hey, we need new voices. We need something. We need to freshen this up. They just need an infusion of youth, because they looked small and slow. I'm not gonna lie. That's what they look like on defense. They look smaller and they look slower. On offense, on the offensive line, they just look like they just got manhandled. No, I wouldn't. I would not tag him. I would not tag him because he's too tall, Matt. Like for me, I said earlier in the video, he's too tall to get leverage. He's 6'5". When you have guys that are in between 5'9" to 6 feet max, but they weigh 220 pounds and they're running downhill, you're not going to get lower than them. It's while they're running full speed at you, unless you have a guy that's seemingly they're around their same height that can do the same thing. That's why I said you look at the better linebackers in this league, they're 6'2" max. Maybe they're generously listed at 6'3", but they're not. They're like 6'2" because they can play 6'1" and they can play with proper leverage, and they're instinctual. They play the game between their ears first, and they have the physical gifts. I just think Tremaine succeeds because of his size. I don't think he succeeds with his instincts. Because he had leverage. He was short and stout. He was 5'9". He wasn't the best runner though. Yes, and I would look to trade Oliver. They were definitely overrated today. That's for sure. I would agree. They looked like the part that they played. They played like shit. I mean, you look at it, just a half a quarter in Cincinnati. The average, I mean, the one quarter in Cincinnati was 7-3, and today they got outscored by that team 34 to 13. So I can't argue who the better team is, and they've just been ever since the bye week. They've not been right. Just the second half against Green Bay, they look like shit. They won the game, but just playing sloppy. They go to the Jets and just they're up in that game, and then they just sleepwalk through half of most like three-quarters of it and lose. Then they go up 24-7 or 10 against, and then just lose in horrific fashion against the Vikings. And they went on a streak, but man, it some heart-stopping wins. They just haven't played a good, clean, crisp game in all three phases, especially on offense, which is supposed to be their bread and butter, since week 2. And that's crazy. That's crazy. Uh Well, you know what it is, Steve. You figure it out. Um, there's a game next week, right? During the season, you're watching, and there's a game next week. There's not another Bills game for 8, 9 months that counts, man. So that's what I mean. 2 quarters, Tom? It didn't look like they had anything after the first drive from Cincinnati. You're being nice. Yeah, Tim, that you know what? That was when you're playing like they play defense like they're waiting for the other QBs to make mistakes rather than forcing them to make mistakes. That I will say philosophically really drives me fucking nuts. I mean, the athletes on offense are too good. The schemes are too diverse. You have to like eventually plant a flag in the floor and say, you know what? We're gonna try to stop this right now. Otherwise, if you beat us, you beat us, but we're not gonna just give this to you. We're not gonna play this bend but don't break shit anymore. They wait till they get to their backs around the 40 to 35 to do that shit, field goal fringe. But they were doing, you can't do that against certain teams. You just can't do it. You can't do it against most teams. Aggression. And they have better athletes on the perimeter. That's what they have. But they're again, they've been living on the fringes too. They just again, they pull out wins, you get teams. Dude, I said the first drive, Tom. The first drive from Cincinnati. Not the first quarter. Our defense is the only defense in the league where it's 3rd and 58 and we're not. Yeah, I mean, that just sums it up, right? 4th and 19 against the Vikings. I mean, if you step back, I mean, there's been plenty of times where the Bills played with heart this season, and that can't be questioned. I just think that they just it all physically, mentally caught up with them. Today, it's like you're playing with house money. Like last week, you're up on a team that is decimated again. Last week, Miami decimated on the offensive line. They didn't have Mostert, was the guy who killed you in the second Miami game. They don't have their starting quarterback. They don't have their backup quarterback. You jump up 17-0 and you let them back in the game and have to go into heart attack mode to end up winning it. And there's only so many fucking times you can do that. It eventually catches up to you. And I just think they looked mentally and physically spent. They just went out there and looked mentally and physically. They just looked mentally and physically spent. Those are all 4 defenses were playing against bad teams, dude, and they had a lot of. I mean, I've talked about that. They played a lot of the bad teams at the right time, and the second they played a good one or two, they lost easily. Pittsburgh's third stringers and backups and Tommy Maddox. Like, and they play a 4-3. So I like that, Greg. I like more aggression. Just don't play with so much damn respect. Don't play so like you're just letting teams come at you, and we're just gonna soak this in and hope ball gets put on the ground. We get a tip. There was one tip Dane Jackson got, but it's like I think Taryn was there, but it just hit the deck, and it's like, of course, there's no interception to be had. A nice tip drill interception would be nice, but the Bills have not had a lot of bounce luck with certain things. They just really haven't. That was tough. I mean, after they got that holding penalty, they needed to come away there. That was at that point, it was 17-7. They needed to get a minimum of 3. You obviously want to score a fucking touchdown, but you know you're getting the ball to start the half. But then you punt it back and then you get nothing right there at the end of the half. There was a holding call. I forget who it was on. I think it was on Ryan Bates, and that just it fucking killed you. But they were driving well, and it just destroyed every chance that they had to do the the double dip. What percentage do I think? I maybe a handful, but there's no chance they don't want to get caught, because if they get caught, it's like 4, 6, 8 games depending on what it is. And then you're in the program where they can test you all the time. They can just call you. I don't know if they use USADA or WADA, which is World Anti-Doping Agency, and that you have to show up wherever you are with one of their agents and piss like that, or they'll wait for you to piss. Doesn't matter how long it takes, but you're gonna piss. I don't know, Steve. You saw what they did with what was his Chad Henne yesterday. That was the difference in the game. They went 98 yards with their backup, made it easy on them. First play of the drive, nice easy little turnaround, 8-yard pass to Travis Kelsey. There's sometimes I do. There's plenty of times, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes my ass, where the easy completions, like you see, like there was a play in the game. Burrow scanning the field. Burrow scanning the field. He looks, just turns and throws it to Mixon. Mixon gets 8 yards, just standing by himself. Everybody's playing off. They have to run up and try to tackle a 220 plus pound back, and it's 2nd and 8. It's 2nd and 2. What are the chances that you're going to stop him there? Minuscule. Minuscule. I can't argue with that, Trevor. I wish he would have put it right out in front of him, Trevor, but I think Gabe should have caught that. Yeah, there's no crispness, Eric. There's nothing like, hey, we're gonna scheme this guy open. He's gonna run wide open. The only guy I feel like has that in his arsenal that was popping a little bit, but he's a rookie, is Shakir. How much can you expect from him at this point? And Andy Reid, you guys, let me take you back in the time machine, the DeLorean. Put the flux fucking capacitor. There was a homeboy who got those Eagles teams to the NFC Championship game 3 or 4 straight times, couldn't get him to a Super Bowl, gets him to a Super Bowl, and then Donovan McNabb is vomiting all over the place. So I think and again, Spagnuolo to the Super Bowl against Brady. Again, you can't question it. They've been there and they've done it. I don't feel like he did much. I think he schemed guys. Like, I think he had some good, like, little stuff behind the line of scrimmage stuff that he would do, some cool trick play stuff. Like the times he pick and choose to give it to McKenzie, the times he would do the wide receiver, throwing the touchdowns. We had, a lot of those. I think McKenzie's thrown a touchdown. I believe Beasley threw a touchdown. John Brown threw a touchdown one time. But outside of that, I just haven't seen it though. I think he had better run schemes for Allen. That's for sure. I think he had better run schemes for Allen. I don't think Dorsey quite knows how to use Allen's mobility other than a fire drill scramble. Like if Allen has to just break out and run, it's not like the design is not good. I'm looking for. I don't think they'll make a change. I don't think they'll make a change. He's not going to go anywhere. He's a way better player than McKenzie, and he's a rookie. It's obvious how much better he is now. Did we lose the coin? Nah, they won the coin toss. They won the coin toss. Well, the Bills played like shit. I mean, I think anybody would have looked good against them, but the Bengals beat the shit out of them. So it's like chicken or the egg, you know? It's like two boxers get in the ring, the other one kicks the other one's ass. It's like you could stand there and take the ass whooping, but eventually you have to put your foot in the ground. It's like, I don't want to take this ass whooping anymore. I'm either going to quit or try to fight back. I don't trust any men over 40 that shaves their. He has a light beard, Hussein. He has a light beard. You just don't see it. He's blonde and it's gray. You can't see it. You have to see him in the press conference. Look really good. Do I want an OC? I don't think they'll change out. But let's just put it this way: I'm not going to cry if they fire him. That's for sure. You're not going to be sitting. You're not going to see me fire up a stream and say, "Oh, Dorsey got hosed." No, I won't be. I won't be sad. I'll be like, let's wait and see who the new guy is and what he does. That's it. That's what I'll do. Let me read some of your comments, guys. We scored 10 points. Eric keeps saying that. Again, Jake, I think he retires before they fire him, but I wouldn't be shocked to see him retire. I think he's 63. He's been a head coach. I know there's always no, I don't see it firing Frazier. No, I don't see them firing Frazier. I think they just need an infusion of youth and fresh ideas. That's what I think in certain areas. I just don't think Jake. I just don't think Tremaine it plays instinctually. I don't think he's physical enough to set an edge. I don't think he's physical enough to win on the edge. He doesn't play with good leverage when he's trying to tackle runners in the hole. He gets the occasional hit where he can, meet a guy that's being held up or like waiting on a like why do we get why we get beat so bad in the screen game? Because our middle linebacker isn't instinctual enough to get in there and meet him. That's why. Everybody wonders why do the Bills get beat on screens? Because our middle linebacker doesn't play the game cerebrally. He plays the game physically, neck down. That's the difference. Go try to do that shit on Fred Warner. Go try to do that shit on Shaq Leonard. See what happens to you. Even Nick Bolton. I think people are just going into the nostalgia bucket for Frank Reich. I like his run schemes. I don't know about his pass schemes, but then again, that's Josh Allen, so I couldn't tell you. It would be a big hit with everybody, though. I know that. Again, if they change it out, Steve, I'm not firing up the stream, bitching and crying. Just put it to you that way. I'm not going to be like lighting a candle here. I could see Frazier. Dorsey, if somebody else wants to hire him, or whatever, I'm not going to cry. Every game is a must-win playoff game, dude. Tom, I don't think he'll play. I'm just saying it because people are putting the most. Yeah, I mean, it's 50-50. The defense didn't play good. They didn't look like they could hold up and put a stop on them. I mean, you could stop them, but the offense is going 3 and out. They're not giving the defense long fields to defend. They didn't get a lot of time off the field. Cincinnati held the ball for 33 and change. So that's a bit on the offense too. It's tough, man. What's a screen? Exactly. Well, they need a physical. They need they need run schemes. See, everybody likes Frank, and you hire Frank Reich. Nah. That whole Joe Brady thing, I don't know what the hell. He went there and got fired. I know he's a young coach. He's like 33, 34, but I don't know. It's like that kid in Homeboy with Detroit. That kid's gonna get a head coaching job. Like, you can just see it. Like, that kid is gonna be a head coach. Like that, you see their schemes, you see the way they run, you see how they get guys open. There's a lot of easy throws for Goff. They have a really good offensive line, a very physical run game, and those are two things the Bills haven't had in a very, very long time. They have not had either of those in a very, very long time. What about McVay, Tim? I if they I just think I wouldn't tag him. I don't sign him. I don't tag him. That's what I mean, Jordan. When I said that earlier, I said they need to figure out what's this thing, this Dorsey mix with homeboy that they Cromer, because it doesn't work. There's something missing there. There's something missing. Because remember last year, Dable was the OC, but Bobby Johnson was the run game coordinator, offensive line coach. But that shit, nobody was nobody liked that guy either. I wasn't a big fan of his. They got boat race today. Yesterday, I'm sorry. He was listed as the offense. I would love to forget. Like, somebody had some pseudo title. Maybe it was Dorsey. I don't know. Maybe he had the pass game coordinator title. I forget. I have no clue, man. I just wish there was easy throws. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I just think they had a lot of talent, and you see a lot of guys. Like, he was that hot name after Burrow had that crazy good year. He had Jamar Chase. He had all these I mean, they were just a buzzsaw going downhill. Nobody could stop them. Yeah, okay, he was a pass game. I knew somebody had a pseudo title. I just don't know what the hell that means. Like, he coordinates the pass game. So who's messing with the run game? Again, Singletary's 5'6". He when he lines up, I'm telling you, I think he's one of those guys. He's done the most he can with what he is and what he has. But when he's on the field and you see him split out wide, I cringe. I'm like, nobody's scared of him doing anything. Like, he's a throwaway player. You could have Reggie Gilliam out there, and I would be more like, okay, Gilliam's got some size. He can lower his pads. Like, and he's sort of like, he's also played tight end. Motor's just not that guy, and is never going to be that guy. Oh, Johnny, I can count on you for a laugh. Well, they need again. I think they just need a different attitude. Let's just put it this way: pricks. They need pricks, Eric. They need a few pricks. Like, I don't really like this motherfucker, but I want him on my team, type of thing. You know what I mean? I don't really like this dude, but I want him on my team. It's the offensive line, bro. The interior. It's like Mitch Morse. Listen to Mitch Morse talk. That is the softest big guy I've ever seen in my life. And the nastiest I ever seen him was last week with the dust up with Allen and Wilkins. And he's been here for how many years? And we have no running back that is a true 200 Bills. And in the NFL, that's too light in the ass. And none of their run styles are truly physical. I mean, Motor can make a physical run here and there, but you're not going to see it it's like, what you're getting with, like, Mixon. What you're getting with certain backs. That they're bringing some fucking wood. He's not doing that. And he's not going to run past you. Dawkins too, you could say that. He's got like all that jazz that he does and stuff, and a nice player, but not super great. Well, like a lot of these teams, they're gonna have to do some roster gymnastics, cap gymnastics. read some of your comments, guys. You know what? I mean, I was figuring this out, and I think it's terrible. It never dawned on me till last night or the day before, I forget, how awful the super chat thing is and how divisive that is. Like, you have a bunch of fans wanting to vent and talk about the team that they love, right? And you get a bunch of like poachers and fraudsters and snake oil salesmen and dickheads who want to like start a room and like, I'm going to charge you to subscribe to my room, my chat, and then I'll charge you to open a thing where you can have an exclusive access to another chat or live. And then I'll charge you more so I can have your comments read, super chat. Oh, the next thing you know, I'll start selling t-shirts. And next thing you know, I'll start selling hats and I'm like, fuck those guys. Honestly, those guys are all scumbags. Fuck them. And you know who I'm talking about too, because there's a lot of them. Oh, come watch my film breakdown. That's fucked up. That's not what this is about. It shouldn't be about like that. That's really fucked up. I think it's a combination of both, Steve. I don't think I don't think it's a one-stop shop. I don't think there's not one panacea. I think there needs to be seismic changes, not many, but the changes that they make need to be seismic. Offensive liners, the Care Bears. Again, like I thought Spencer Brown had that edge, but again, I don't feel like he played well this year. And when you're not playing well, you can't carry yourself a certain way. Seriously, Johnny, I just think that's insane. Like, I think that's insane. You would think so, Johnny. Not Johnny Z, though. Depends on who's there, Steve. Tell me who's there, and I'll tell you who it is. Like, then I got to figure out what they've done in free agency. Got to figure out. I mean, right now, just a cursory glance, you would say offensive line, but this isn't some great offensive line class. The Bills are drafting 27th. I'm not saying you don't draft one, but you don't just pick one to pick one. You pick a shit one. You know, they picked Cody Ford at the top of the second round. That's not good. That's a guy you wish you were given a second contract to. Have to stop getting other guys, other teams just let resign. I mean, Morris was a big free agent ad. I mean, he's been here for 4 years. The team, the offense flows better with him at center. I mean, when he's gone out, you've noticed it. So, and he's super used to playing with Josh. I don't know if he's getting old, but I'm not saying I want it to happen, but if he retired because of concussions or concussion concerns, it wouldn't be shocking to me. I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not paying for shit till we win a Super Bowl. I don't blame you, Trey. I don't blame you. Yeah, if they can get one, I would like it. I mean, I just like there's a handful of guys I've looked at. I mean, I'll say there's a running back I like, but I know a lot of people will not like that idea. But I feel like they need to have a guy that they can just simply turn around and hand the ball off to, and he can hammer a team or he can run past the team. And if you split him out wide, he can do some damage. But they've got to figure out, you know what, you could throw to the backs in certain ways. So, but I don't know if he'll be there. Wide receiver, safety. I mean, wide receivers are sexy, but they need a good one. You can get you can just bid a bunch of Jags too. You don't want Jags. No, not the LSU running back. The wide receiver I like is people are going to be like him. He's small, but the guy creates fucking space. And he's fat. I mean, Devontae Smith is talented, right? He's not big. Jalen Waddle is talented. He's not big. You just get me some talent, get them some talent. I don't give a fuck so much about the size. Not Kareem Hunt. Bingo, Matt. Matt put it in the room. That guy. No, I wouldn't say they have elite linemen, Johnny. I wouldn't say they don't. Yeah, Capper. I definitely. I would say they're probably all gone because you're at that point now where you can't be paying because the Bills have been doing this. They've been paying a lot of guys a lot of money to play special teams. Like you have Metakevich, he's a highly paid special teams player. You have Taiwan Jones, who they pay $1.25 million for to play special teams. You have other homeboy who plays predominantly special teams, Saran Neal. So you can't have that all over the roster. I think the thing that I like about Knox is tight ends generally all of a sudden really become great at 27, 26, and he's 26. It's like Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey was a 24-year-old rookie and he played tight end his whole life. Then he didn't really play his first year, got hurt, came back at 26 and just took off. And I feel like Knox can get there. It's like Kittle. Kittle's gonna be 30. We need a wide receiver, Tim, 100%. They do need those other areas though, that's for sure. Nah, not Phillips for 5 million. No way. Hodges had one catch for 3 yards last night. He's not even the fourth option on the Bills or the fifth. He was their first. And you know what they did? They took Darius Slay and said that guy's not catching the ball. And he didn't catch the ball. I'm going to read some of your comments, guys. Mixon, and Hurst. Hurst was big today. You can't take away Hurst. What Hurst did for them, some of the one catch and run was nice. The touchdown was nice. He had another easy. I think he had a few. I think Knox had a few good catches. I just think he has so many blocking responsibilities that you don't get to see him, just do that. Like last year, he was really focusing in on receiving, but this year he seems to have more blocking responsibility. But even then, if is yeah, I definitely think Shakir's going to play more, Johnny. That's you could see that kid has he has a little something extra in the box that we haven't seen yet. Maybe that sounds bad, but he's got something extra that we haven't seen yet. Well, it settled it down. If you Elway didn't have anything for a very, very long time. He had Shannon Sharp. That was his first truly elite weapon. And then when they signed, what happened with them, it was the perfect storm. They got Rod Smith out of nowhere. I think Rod Smith was like an undrafted free agent. They got Ed McCaffrey in free agency, and then they hit a seventh, sixth round running back. And they had a great run scheme. These San Francisco schemes that you see, some of the run schemes you saw McDaniel run on the Bills with Mostert, that's basically it. But you also have to scheme guys open. I've seen him create separation and go look at the Jets. The Jets, he got separation there. He got separation on the one route. He was down the middle, caught it. Let me read some of your comments, guys. Well, the O line is definite. That's a fact. I mean, it just really what's really maddening and a real say an indictment, but with the amount of resources they've pumped into the defensive line is where you fall short. That to me is not that if you want to give Bean, you got to put a mark against Bean's name. That you say right there. Yeah, Andrew, it sure is, bro. I mean, it wasn't a great pass rush. It was good, but it obviously it went haywire south. If Dawson Knox is your problem, you don't have problems. Things feel horrible right now. It feels like shit right now, Johnny, because the wounds are bleeding, and you got to go on this fucking journey again. That's the bad part about this. First, yeah, first, he's a first round running back. There's no doubt about it. I mean, just I look at contact balance. I look at running behind your pads. I look at size. He can be on the field all three downs. That's what I pay. That's what I pay first round picks for. I want guys that are going to be on the field. I don't like to me. Looking back in hindsight, I like the Oliver pick. I mean, his first year was promising. Second year, injury riddled. You hope he was going to have like this big, like, you see, like, I'm not asking for double digits, but like 8, 7, hitting the quarterback, disruption. Um, and I've seen none of it. I've seen none of it. He's that and a lot cheaper, Jake. A lot cheaper. Yeah, I just don't see the disruption, and it's just like Tremaine. I see him, he makes the odd play here or there. Like, they wanted to make out, he got out and made that big hit on the back last week, but those are too few and far between for me. They're too few and far between. Not a coaching change, but I think they're going to be changes. I mean, there's always changes, but they're going to be bigger changes than what we saw in previous years. I think they're at that point now where they can't run it back with the same crew, whether it's one of the coordinators or both, or some position coaches, and what we've envisioned, well, not envisioned, but what we've known as the core group defensively, a little bit on offense has to be, there has to be a shuffling. There has to be a a turnover there. There has to be some new faces, some new energy. I want to say it was Mario. Oh, Lorenzo Alexander. Lorenzo Alexander, 2016. I want to say it has to be. It has to be him. When Lorenzo had his 1 year, that was the last time. So gonna be 9 seasons. Ugh. Yeah, that is pretty bad, Johnny. That's not good. We missed on 2 DNs, 1 tackle, 1 linebacker, and 1 running back. Well, I don't know what do you mean by that, Steve? Missed on. I mean, if you want to say missed on 2, I would say Basham has shown nothing so far in 2 years. He hasn't shown any reason to think that he's going to be any better. Epinesa had a little bit better of a year, but he's going into his last year. It's going to be his 4th year already. Ruseo showed better. I mean, but he's a first round pick. It's going to be year 3. But, anybody else, Yeah, I just yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's he's too emotional or it's that I just maybe he doesn't have it. He doesn't have the experience at the position yet because once you're in the seat doing it, it's like anything. It's fucking different. Even though you play the position, you it's still different massively. Oh, the season ended the same place last year when they had way higher expectations. Yeah, there has to be changes, Eric. They again, I think they're at that point now. This is going to be, you're going into year 6 with Josh. This is going to be year 6, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. You're going to get this is year 6. You can't just say, "Hey, we're 13-3, play here, play there." Well, I can play it the other way too. Say play here, play there. Your record could be less. That's why I say never apologize in wins and losses because you make the plays you make and you don't make the plays you don't make and you lose. It works both ways. The Bills have never been more of a favorites to go to the Super Bowl than this year, but that's with a team that was completely healthy. That's a team, with Vaughn, you expect Trey to come back and play at his level. You don't expect Hyde's going to go down. You don't expect Poyer's going to be beat up and in and out of games, for chunks all year. That's why playing games on paper it's a fool's errand. Everybody expected Davis to make a bigger jump than he did. He was just slightly above his numbers, at least just catching wise. His average has always been pretty high. The I think it was better having Cook as a number 2 back, but I think they got to it too late, and he should have got more burn. What's wrong with giving him 250? At least 150 carries instead of the barely 100 that he got. So there's something like that I can point to. Again, that if that happens, Andrew, again, if you want to make the fans happy, I'm not again, if they put out a press release, it won't happen tomorrow, but if they put out a press release on sometime this week and say they're moving on from Dorsey, again, I'm not going to hop on here and cry. Okay. But if they tell me that he's coming back, I'm also going to say shit's got to be a hell of a lot better. Yeah, Donald's a unicorn. He plays with an edge. He plays more ferocious. Donald could get caught up in it, but he just wins more. He wins way more. I don't know about that, but I wouldn't go that far. I think it's injury. I think it was an injury. Obviously, I think the wide receiver. I think the O line play was shaky. So I think it's a lot of things. I mean, you look at his raw numbers; they were better than last year's, and he played in one less game. So I don't see him. I don't see him being. And this was the fewest points they scored all year. The last game of the year. I mean, you had what was it? 6 against the Jags. You had 10 against the Colts. You had what was it? 16 in the opener against the fucking Steelers. You only had 10 against the Patriots at home in the win game. They had some fucking duds. Okay, they had the dud first half against Tampa Bay. So that there was several. I know we're far removed from it. There was several eggs that were laid last year. So let's not act like it was some well-oiled machine in 2021. It was not. Get some of your comments, guys. I apologize because I get off the same with Shakir. I think Shakir can be a good player for them. I think he can be definitely a good player, but they do need to add they need to add a couple of wide receivers. They need some new blood there. Yeah, it's definitely. I think it's a bit of everything. I don't. Again, it's not any one thing. Like any one thing is not going to change this team unless you're going to resurrect Bruce Smith and make him. He's not past, but if you make him 22 again and okay, then you're going to do. Then that's a different situation. But that likelihood, that's a million in one shot. So we have Poyer. I mean, you're going to replace those guys. I mean, so yeah. I need something new. I'd agree with that, Utz. I think they're a little too finesse. They're a little too finesse, but they've been that way. And it's something that it happened last year. I mean, it happened last year. It bit them in the ass in KC. People say 13 seconds. When you had those 2 3-and-outs in the third quarter, when they went conservative and there was the Zach Moss runs, Dable was calling those plays. Then the first play they got on the third drive was the shot play to Davis. They scored super, super quick. But then the defense was back on the field. And when you got into overtime or the last drives of the game for KC, they were gassed because they had to chase track star all over the fucking field. Well, that's why you need the changes you need to make, Steve. I think he's gone. I think he's gone. I think the team is very good and has the chance to be great, but they need to make the right moves because they're at the precipice now. They can go one of two ways. I mean, he did it once. I'm not saying he won't do it again, but I think he needs to focus on being the head coach rather than, I don't know why people get on the fast clap. It's like, nitpicky, but it's whatever. I mean, if the guy wants to clap, he's going to clap. If he wants to cheer on his players, and that's how he chooses it. I mean, I've seen so many coaches. No, but I've also seen Mike Singletary, who acted in every way fans want a head coach to act. Called out his players, sent the guy to the back of the locker room, totally humiliated him in front of everybody. And you know what? That shit don't wash, man. That shit don't wash. You've seen head coaches play that hard ass role, but I'm not saying you need but you need a balance. I'm not saying they don't need a hard ass. But I think McDermott can be a hard ass, but you can't have all your coaches be hard asses. You can't have everybody getting their pants pulled down in the media. We've seen, you want to throw people under the bus? Okay. Watch how hard I go out and play for you. Oh, Terry Glenn. I remember that. Terry Glenn was the wide receiver he did that to. And again, he got to another Super Bowl, didn't win it, but that you could do that shit 70s, 80s. You can't do that shit no more. I generally read the comments in reverse better than I do this way. Yeah, that's the thing that pisses me off. It's like you supposedly have, lighter defensive ends, rush ends. It's like you have to try to shoot a gap to get a QB off his spot. Where what we've seen teams do is delay blitz DBs way after the play, and they've had tons of free shots on Allen. I'm like, well, I'm seeing defensive coordinators do things to confuse Allen. I'm not seeing these other QBs looking confused or not having answers. That's the shit that pisses me off. When I feel like my coaching staff looks a step behind, when I feel like there's nothing easy going on out there, I'm like, okay, everything looks hard. It was really frustrating to watch. Let me read some of your comments, guys. I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but I think I don't know, man. I just think a lot of things caught up with them. I just think that a lot of things caught up with them. I don't know how much or how little. It was such a sidebar, and it's gonna be a story no matter what. If he doesn't visit them, if he visits them, if he's watching from home, it's gonna be shoot crazy. You never have to ask a question. Um, I remember us again, Eric, Milano, the only sack of the game, and then fucking Carmen Jackson pushing. Well, he pushed Lawson to the ground. He hits Burrow in the ankle. That's the only times I saw Burrow get touched. Ball was out of his hands quick. Receivers were open, easy, quick completions. Nothing was hard. Nothing. The defense didn't look like they just gave a lot of just clean releases. McDermott said he was pissed that they weren't doing anything right, so he didn't talk to the camera, but he apparently he talked to the one woman. I don't remember her name, but she's like the quintessential halftime person who just gives like a a report. You know the kind. I can't even think straight right now, but yeah, that's what she said. And it go, yeah, seriously, like, but there was several times. It was 1 3rd and 10. It was like, and it was like they got it, and it was like Trenton Irwin who caught it, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, it was just so easy. It was so easy. And I was pissed that again. I keep saying it. I sound like I say a lot of things. I sound like a broken record. I wanted Benford on the field, like at some point, because I felt like he gave us something a little different. Yeah, the whole team was shit, Johnny. I mean, the defense was a sieve on both sides. Whether it was in the front or the back end. The only two players I saw out there really laying down were Taron Johnson and Matt Milano. I didn't see Elam, much. I didn't see his name get called a lot. And yeah, the offense was just. I think McKenzie caught a couple of passes. It just didn't look. Yeah, they're afraid to get run past. I hate that shit. I hate that, like, oh, we're afraid they're gonna run past us. Like, well, guess what? It can happen at any point in time. You got to try to stop. You got to do something different. Well, Elam is definitely that. Benford has traits. That's why I want him to play. If Buffalo, well, again, they play with a recklessness and an abandon that the Bills just aren't willing to play with, and that's why. And that sucked, because with a backup quarterback that can barely throw, they put up a much better game against the Ravens than the Bills did in the Ravens' house. I think let me read some of your comments, guys. I think if we had dad offense on. Why give up a post? I don't understand that. Capper. Yeah, it's different. I mean, it's easy now. I mean, everybody's gonna like what the other teams does because of what happened today. You know, 13-3, but we watched this team with under a fucking Hubble telescope, and we all know it was like it was like everything that was not good about the team or every possible bad. It happened today. It just happened today. Defense laid an egg. The offense laid an egg. I mean, what can you say about the special teams? I mean, they didn't do anything. The only positive, again, the only positive that came out today, and I'll say this for the people who weren't in the room, is all that the NFL is rigged. There's all this um uh, 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 crazy quasi numerology bullshit uh going on with the threes and the hearts and they're really sixes or not, all this crazy shit you were seeing all over the place. And again, I'll confess, I myself have some ideas and things that may be quirky, but I'm just glad all that shit was just fucking thrown right into the trash today. Like, oh, what are you going to do now? The NFL's not rigged. Oh boy, what are you going to wait for the halftime show to say that's some satanic ceremony or some crazy bullshit like that? That's probably what's going to happen. Again, I mean, I think they, like I've said it. I've said it. I agree with you guys. I think we're all saying the same things in slightly different ways. That there needs to be changes. There needs to be coaching changes, whether there's schemes. I think there's just a point in time where you get in your cycle that there needs to be, okay, we need to freshen this up. We need to, you can only come back to the same well so many times, even if it's been a rewarding well. Eventually, it's going to run out. And what you don't want to have happen is, okay, there was signs of it running out. We decided to go back, but now we're dying of thirst. Sorry for the long-winded way of saying, oh shit, now we're out in the middle of nowhere and our canteens are fucking dry. You have to get ahead of it, and you have to get ahead of it personnel wise. You have to get ahead of it on the sideline, and you have to look at what you didn't do. You just like couldn't run the ball really much when we wanted to, and that's been a problem. That was a problem with Dable. That's not a new problem. The offensive line is still like in a state of like, what do we do? What don't we do? We don't really do anything particularly well. It was almost a point in time where like I'm hoping Ike Butker could have got on the field, but he didn't. That was the same group pretty much all year. I mean, Deion Dawkins missed a few games. I know Morse missed a few games, but for the most part, their O-line was okay healthy. I mean, I've seen a lot more. I mean, Cincinnati had a decimated offensive line today. And yeah, I mean, he was right today. He was right today. It just you've seen it because the Bills scored 30 points and still not look like a well-oiled machine. But what happened today was they went up against a very talented team that said, you know what, you're going to have to earn those fucking points. Not that the Bills didn't earn them before, but the Bills weren't on their game. It's like, and that's what happens. I think they've tried to. They just haven't. See, that's the thing. They've tried to. They just haven't been successful at it, and that's the thing that worries me a little bit. It's like they've tried to change things there, and personnel wise, they just haven't. They just haven't done it. Well, that's why they need to upgrade the talent, Steve. Another good, it exposes Bill's warts. Well, yeah, I think last year, Johnny, after the the 13 seconds, it gave them a false sense of security. It's like, yo, we're this close. We just did something egregious and it cost us massively. And I think those are coming. Those are coming. So instead of sneezing, my nose is running now. It sucks. This weather can't make up its mind. It poured here today. They both hurt, man. When we lay down tonight, all of us, this sucks. We wake up tomorrow, this sucks. I'm gonna, I can't listen to football radio. I don't know, Johnny. A dome doesn't infuse manifest physicality, and the offensive line still would have been on skates. The defensive line still would have been getting knocked back. Again, 2.63 yards before contact. That's not a dome. That's not a dome. That's pad level. That's leverage. That's it. That's all it is. And it just, the first drive, it looked so easy. It just looked so easy. And it was a foreshadowing of the rest of the game. It really was. Because they're playing with a bunch of, regardless of what narratives were coming into the game, the Bills themselves had backup defensive linemen in there. They're already rotational, because you don't rotate great players. Like, for example, if you have a great defensive lineman, he ain't coming off field. Aaron Donald's going to play 85% of the snaps. TJ Watt is on the field 80-90% of the snaps. JJ Watt, Nick Bosa, those guys are on the field. When you have studs, they're on the field. So when you have a rotation, that's to me like, okay, we keep our guys fresh, but there has to be freshness with a purpose. And you had guys that are injured. Still, for me, that's no fly. I don't care, because everybody's got injuries. Everybody's playing banged up. Nobody's feeling good. Kingsley Jonathan was on the field today. Practice squad guy. Ilianku, who was elevated, practice squad guy. He was on the field today. When we started the season, did anybody see Shaq Lawson starting? He was a starting defensive end. He ended up being the starting defensive end because he set the edge better than the other guys. The only two starters we had were Ruseo and Oliver, and Oliver's pec is strained. So they were, they were not. You'll wake up you'll feel better, Matt. You'll be all right. You'll power through, man. I'll read some of your comments, guys. Yeah, but Dome wouldn't have mattered. Dome wouldn't have mattered. Look at the players we take off the dummy. I mean, again, it was like a two-prong bring the band back together. It was like Lawson, Phillips brought them back, re-signed Bates. Then second half of the year, it's AJ Klein, it's Dean Marlowe, it's Beasley and Brown are just panic. I don't say panic moves, but they were the moves you could make because continuity, familiarity. But at the end of the day, it just was too little, too late. It eventually, the Daquan Jones being down today was huge. That was a huge miss. That was a big miss. Yeah, Johnny, that's the truth. They got beaten by a better team. You look at like the 10 minutes they played in Cincinnati. You look at the whole game today. It's what's the score? 37-13. No, I'm sorry, 34-13. There you go. I mean, I can't sugarcoat it any other way. There's no sugarcoating it. But what is going to be interesting is they have to pay people too. They haven't paid anybody yet. Everybody's talking about the Bills situation. Eventually, Cincinnati's going to have to pay Burrow. They're going to pay him. They're going to have to pay Chase. You got to have Higgins. You have Boyd. The dam breaks there too. So it's not just the Bills that face roster decisions. Just like in KC. Travis Kelce is not going to be there forever. And the likelihood they replace him with another Travis Kelce is fucking, I don't know what the percentage are. He's 34. He's going to be 34. Mecole Hardman's a free agent. Again, Orlando Brown is a free agent. So everybody's going to face questions. I'm just using the other top two teams in the conference as barometers. See, the Bills have paid guys. So their roster tweak is going to be completely different. The only person that they've paid is Mahomes. They don't have a high-priced Chris Jones. That's their only other high-priced player is Chris Jones. That's it. They don't have another high-priced player on their roster. The highest priced player in Cincinnati, I think, is Hendrickson, for Christ's sake. Right? That's pretty tough, Steve. That is tough. Yeah, different game, different time, just pre-Hamlin, 4 weeks earlier, just body's in a different place. He's 24. He's going to be 25. But again, the kind of money you're going to have to attach to him, he's not a game changer. He's a good player, but he's not a game changer. You need a guy who can change a game. That's what you pay big money for. Game changers, not guys. He's a good player, a really good player. But eventually you're going to have to pick and choose who you give money to. You can't give it to everybody. I like our corners. I just don't like the play style selection sometimes. I wish there was a little bit more press man. I wish there was a little bit more of a physical nature and in your face nature. A little bit more hand fighting and running instead of just laying back and absorbing. That's all. Well, he was 20, Matt. And he's played well. I mean, he's had a good 5 years. But name a game-changing play he's made. You could say the interception against the Pats, where he sealed the game there and they could kneel it out. Okay. Bills were up what? They were up 10 there. Trey White's coming off the thing, but I honestly feel like he's a guy they should try to trade because I just feel like there's a time and place. No. Yeah, I just think the play style, like you said, is just something that needs a little refinement. And we're talking in circles here, but that's fine. That's what this is for. This is a cathartic process. And that's why I said what I said earlier about Bills fan, me. I'm a Bills fan, and I'll be one till I die, because that's my choice. And I want it to be that way. And nobody's forcing me to like this team. I'm choosing to. And I want to. And I'm going to be back here. And I'll never leave here. And that's why I said I feel it's wrong that other fans are poaching their so-called fellow fans, through emotional, let's just say, like, because we're so emotional. We love this team and we want to talk about and vent and grieve and heal together. But I feel like, some other places are just they're taking advantage, and I don't like that. That's It's just really hit me and dawned on me about the super chat thing. I was just like, that's really fucked up. That's really fucked up. You could say that. You could say that crazy. I mean, everything's valid. I mean, everything is valid. I think corners are always tradable, Steve, but I don't think you should wait too long. I think you should do it. I think that's all we want, crazy. No, I don't live here, Capper. I live in North Jersey, dude. I've never been there. Yeah, but again, do you want to wait too long, or do you want to try to get something? You free up money, you add a pick, you just there's thing I mean, you just gotta, you know, there's things you have to do. I hate when someone complains about a loss or the team and others jump on them. Go be a fan of another team. You're a fair weather fan. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who's saying that. I mean, everybody's got the right to be angry and frustrated, and everybody's look, everybody's frustration's valid today. I mean, after what we witnessed and the way things went down, I mean, everything, but and then also you're going to take a step back emotionally and see all the shit this team's been through. They are a group of human beings, after all. They're not a bunch of fucking robots. I get that. Whether it's you first of all, you got to survive the game physically, mentally, so you have to compartmentalize that stuff. So I totally empathize with them. Then you have family things, all business things, just swirling around you. But I also say every other team's dealing with the same thing. Every other player deals with the same thing. Then you have all the other stuff that we know happened with this team out of their control. And I'm sorry, no other team went through that this year, whether it was the weather, the Mar, all the health situations, the deaths, the sicknesses, um, injuries to certain players, you know, it's just crazy. I think we're all like that, Johnny. I mean, I feel honestly though, I feel I mean what I say though, because I mean I generally feel like there should be some trades made. I feel like this team played good pass defense without Trey. I feel like they did, and I don't see why they can't again, especially with year two of Benford, year two of Elam, maybe some more athleticism at safety, maybe one last year of a healthy Hyde. I feel like they can again. You know, I just think you tweak a few things here and there. I think this team is just as good, if not better. Probably right there. Right there. They just have to. There's a certain. There's just Bills lost physically today. That's what they did. They lost physically, and they lost physically because it pisses me off because it's almost like they allowed themselves to be. There was no resistance. It was almost like put us out of our misery. We're kind of tired. We want to go rest. That's what I felt it was like today. That's what I felt it was like. I think if there was trade offers for James Bradbury last year, and the Giants said no, that's too little, and they ended up having to cut him for nothing. I just think you have to look at you move money, you open up a spot, you get a draft pick. Otherwise, you're stuck in the same quagmire. You can't say we're going to rotate Elam. He has to be on the field. And then you have Trey. That's fine. It's a good problem to have either way. But I just think you're going to get to add you can add another body there. You can draft. We know they can draft DBs and pick DBs. So we know that. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about them picking defensive and offensive linemen. That's what I'm worried about. Let me read some of your comments, guys. Now, I don't think he's going to get hired there, but I think you look. I think you look elsewhere. I think you need something new, something fresh. Thurman Thomas just bought a house here for $1 million. People are moving back. I thought he lived there. I thought he lived there for a while, Capper. I know he lived in Florida for a little while, but I know I know he lived in Florida for a little while. I don't know if it was Miami or Orlando, but I thought he had lived there. Yeah, I mean, it was feeble. It was meek. Like the title of the stream is Meek and Feeble, man, for a reason. Yeah, I mean, Steve, that's just, that's it. We need something that's just different than what we have. Running McKenzie out, it's just not, you can't have Isaiah McKenzie being your three and saying, I mean, I look back and it was on the strength of the one New England game, and I'm like, damn, what were we thinking? Like, seriously, what were we thinking? It's possible, Capper. You never know. It could have been a long time coming. We'll see. I've said it 10 times. I'm not gonna start up a stream and or fire off 10 tweets saying, how could you do this? How could you fire the guy? This is awful. Nah, he's not getting a head coaching officer. I also think there's also an element of this is his first year as OC. Remember Dable's real first year as OC in 19. His first year was 18. But everybody's like, well, they got Brown, they improved the offensive line a little bit. They got Motor, they got, Knox was a rookie, Beasley. So let's see now. I mean, not everybody was fat and happy off that year either. It was the 20 year everybody went nuts for. Then I thought the 21 year was a step back. I didn't think the 21 year was good at all. Everybody loves Frank. Such a good dude. I just wouldn't want to see a bad Bills connection. But would I think he'd be good for Josh? I do. I in some way, shape, or form, I think he would be good for Josh. Because I think a quarterback who knows how to play football in that stadium and is important until the new one gets built. The line, the lack of he lived in the Boston suburbs. Is that Boston, New York? That's a little further south, right? No, he bought a house in the city. Okay. You guys are, yeah, I've never been where you guys are, man. It'd be like me telling you about the Jersey City Heights compared to the Hill, compared to Journal Square, compared to Washington Village or Western Slope. It'd be like if you were saying those things to me, I would understand. But if you're, you got to go slow with me. Give me the remedial version. I don't want to see. I mean, that's their base. I know, I get it, but no team really plays with three linebackers on the field anymore. That's just a bygone era, man. That just doesn't happen. Would I trade? Fuck, man. I can't see another one of those two. So just pain all around, right? It's just you're gonna bleed. It's just got to pick and choose how much you're willing to bleed, right? Yeah, I said that exactly. Just the bye week, it just seemed like this team mentally they've got to look into that. This team hit some malaise around that time, and this goes all the way back to 17. This team just hit some malaise. A Josh whisper, that's a good one, Johnny. And if Reich is that, then fine. If that, I just think he would be good for him. You got to get there. You got to get there. You could lose it, but you got to get there. Well, their defense, and you look at their defense. Name me the high end players in their secondary. But you know what they have? They have hell on wheels up front. They have a top 10 pick. They have a second overall pick. They have another top 10 what is Eric Armstead? Is he a top 10 or top 20? Hell on wheels, but he's proven it. And then their linebackers, they're Milano's sensational, but their two linebackers as a pairing are really good. I would take Fred Warner over Tremaine Edmonds in a heartbeat. I would take him over. And they have that one young safety. I can't pronounce his last name. He's I don't know. I don't want to say if he's Samoan or if he's Tonga. I don't know which, but he's a USC kid. He like a little bit like a Palomalu hair, but not quite. Buffalo suburbs is like South Orange. Downtown is like normal square, rich area. The good old parts of Trenton. See, I grew up around there, Steve. Clifton, right on that fringe. Patterson. Fucking lovely, if you know it. The square's ritzy now, dude. The 3 towers are up, bro. They got the third one finishing. You gotta have some coin to come here now. Gentrification city. Eagles are a very physical team, so it would be a crazy matchup. But see, the Eagles have the horses to exploit them on both sides of the ball. Up front. 2. How many more? 2. Waiting 5 months, as was before the Carolina connection. Of course, crazy. That's the point of it, man. It's cathartic therapy. We need it because it sucks. I need it. I need you guys. Trust me. You know what I'd be doing? I'd be sitting here like I don't chew my nails, but I like bite this skin, and I would hit this probably like 5 times. I'd shout out a random fuck. I would do this. And I would shake I would just be a basket case. So, yeah, they went down the field like a hot knife through butter midnight first 2 times. And that just, the game was never stable after that. It really wasn't. It just was never stable. Once you got it to, even when the Bills got it to 14-7, it's like, okay, but the defense has to hold. They went down there and got 3, right? And so you're like, okay, Bills are driving. I'm like, look, if they can get a touchdown and go into half 17-14 with the ball coming out, things are kosher. But that didn't happen. You're going down 17-7. You come out, you only get 3. They go down and, they just take a long drive, score a touchdown, and then the Bills go 3 and out again. And it's just like, that was it. Because those 2 drives took so long. Those 2 drives took so long, Yeah, right, Johnny? That's it. Even the Jets game before that, right? Which is the more valuable of the 2 because it's a division game, conference game. The guy we paid money to, right? The guy they paid money to The first series of the game, Josh throws that like gift interception. And that's the frustrating part is like, and I look back on this season, I was like, the things that Josh did are such easy fixes. The 2 interceptions against Green Bay's are gifts. They're gifts. Today, at the end of the game, he's just trying to make a play. I don't care about that. Last week, he's trying to make a play. Maybe should have holstered it, took off and ran, threw it away. Okay. The other one to Beasley, a tip. The one that kills me is the fumble, scoop, and score. That kills me. Now, the fumbles to me are correctable because he's getting hit and he's getting free runners coming at him, blindsided, and nobody's picking him up. Nobody's alerting, and it's just most quarterbacks are losing the ball there, right? So, but back to the Jets game, the guy they pay money to change a game, Von Miller, strip sacks, fucking Wilson. They get the ball. I think it's the second play after that, or the first play, the interception right back to Gardner. And there, even the last drive, they just ran the ball. And not with the great backs. Michael Carter. Seriously. Michael Carter. With Zach Wilson playing quarterback, for Christ's sake. I don't think he's regressed. I think what's been around him has hit a lull. I think it's hit a lull. And I think he's trying to do too much. Like, nothing looks easy for him. It's not like he drops back, boom. He gets his back foot, boom. He hits it like in 20. In 20, he was dropping back, boom, quick decision, ball was gone, boom, boom, boom. Now it's just like he's just waiting for things. I don't know about that, Midnight. I think he's just, I just think a lot of things just came to a head today. Yeah, it's just a lot of scramble drills, a lot of fire drills. Yeah, he'll definitely be back next year, but what's going to be around him should be different. See, I think he should be the veteran glue in that secondary, and you have to move on from other people, or try to move on from other people, just to freshen things up, change things up, get some new life into the team, and a lot of the guys thankfully are already here, but there's others that aren't, there's others that aren't. Who do I think we try to bring back? I don't know right now. I don't think there's anybody you have to have back. I really don't. I don't think you have to bring anybody back, at least. No, that's I just think that Shakir in his second year is going to be better. I think Cook in his second year is going to be better. Edmonds, to me, I don't pay $20 million for him. I just don't. I don't roll out the Roquan Smith deal for him. I just can't. Jordan Phillips is going to be 30. Had a lot of injuries this year. He's going to have shoulder surgery. I don't know what kind of deal that would be like. And, when is he going to even be healthy? No, I don't think that's a surgery thing. I just think he's beat up. That's why, like, when people say running back, I'm like, yeah, the guy that's supposed to take the pounding, you can just turn around, hand in the ball. The offensive line can get its footing. You don't have to take 5-7 step drops and worry about, 10, 15, 20-yard routes developing downfield. I really hope. Thanks for subscribing, dude. I appreciate it, man. I never ask for those things. I never hey, like, subscribe, tweet. Hey, sorry, Jack. I just saw your comment. What's your comment? What's your opinion? I say it. I've said it a few times. I I don't sit here and say like, "Hey, you got to keep them." But if I found out they're moving on tomorrow, I'm not gonna, oh, boo. No, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry either. If they feel like there needs to be a change, then there needs to be a change, and I'll be fine with it. I'll be more than fine with it, actually. Oh boy, I noticed the last 2 weeks has left. I think that's just from playing. Just like getting scraped up, or it's just the opening there. It's just the scab coming off of the same thing. That's all. That's why you see like Hines. Where's the tape? Read some of your comments, guys. I was screaming at my TV today watching. Yeah, dude. I mean, I think it was before they scored their first touchdown, and that was fucking cake. That was a gift. I was like, you're playing, like, move closer to them. Don't let them just. Again, there was a 3rd and 4 right outside the 10, and I forget which cornerback was playing like 5-6 yards off. I'm like, he's just got to run 2 steps and turn around, and he's gonna fall forward for the first fucking down. What are you doing? I'm not claiming to be a football expert, but Jesus Christ, at least make it a little bit more competitive. Is a back? No, not in my opinion. No. What do I think about Dorsey? Fire him again. If they move on, I'm not going to cry. If they keep him and say we're just going to get better in year 2, but things have to change, I'll be like, okay, but I got to see it. Just got. What's up, Eric? How you doing, bro? Damn, just now, Jesus Christ. Oh, it did. It fucking did. Yeah, man. It was a tough watch. Yeah, right. Right. The Manning cast. He did the Manning cast and they ended up losing like the next week, and everybody's like, don't go on the Manning cast no more. Let me get to some of your comments, guys. Yeah, it's the running game that just they have not had a good running game in a really long time. Like Josh has been their running game. He's been the catalyst for it. They just haven't been able to just simply turn around, have some stoutness up front, and have a back that can exploit, use his ability to get to the second level and truly burn a defense and to just ride him. Like I said, how many 100-yard? They've only had 3 100-yard running games from a running back in Josh Allen's entire tenure with the team. That's it. 2, 3, and they've all been by Singletary. I think they got 1 by Frank Gore. I'm not sure. Let me check, but I think they've only gotten 3. I'll check really fast. But don't hold me to it. Even though that's still putrid. This guy's been your quarterback for how long, and you've only managed that? That's not good. Okay, Gore. Gore had one against the Pats. So they've gotten 4 100-yard rushing games. That's not good. That's just not good. Ran over the Bears, but that's it. That's a team that's drafting first overall. I think the real curse is my favorite teams never win on the same day. Arsenal had a big day. Yeah, he was 1 yard away. And I think they tried to get it to him and he lost it. You know what I've learned? I've learned this whole year has really, really reinforced it for me because I'm a psychopath. Like, I'm really good at hiding it. I'm crazy. There's all these little things I do that I think if I don't do them, or if I do them, it'll somehow infect the game. None of that shit matters. Like, example, you see this car? It's a little purple car. And the only reason it's there is because my cats were knocking it all over the apartment, and I was driving me crazy, so I went and got it. Do you know the night I went and got it? Right after they lost to the Vikings. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to keep it here for now. I'll get rid of it later. I've kept it there ever since and haven't moved it, right? Because the Bills were winning. So I'm like, the purple car, I haven't moved it. I'm not going to move it. Holy shit. Like, if I go to the gym and run a certain length or do this or do that, Bills will win. Or if I don't, they won't. None of it matters. Nope, doesn't matter what I do or don't do. All of the above, Midnight. All of the above. Actually, really calm watching the game. The Bengals just exposed all the problems. I mean, you could say that. I think that I just don't think the effort. I don't think that I don't think the effort was there today. So it's hard to say, Steve. I just don't think they just didn't look right today, you know? You don't wear Bills gear on game day? See, I wear a Bills before or during, yeah. Like, I went to the gym today, so like I was rocking, like I don't wear it to work out, but I wear it over my workout shirt. So even that TD we had, instead I was depending on the running back, Josh needed just like he just barreled in, you know. He picked up the second and short. He picked up the fourth and short. He picked up the touchdown. And you felt like there was a bit of an emotional boost. Things got chippy there. I felt like the defense definitely need to get a hold. They didn't. They scored a field goal, kicked the field goal, and the Bills got the ball, double dip. They didn't. They got penalized and they punted there. They didn't want to give them a short field with 2 timeouts. I get that, but it was tough, man. It was tough. Let me read some of your comments, guys. I'm not watching it. Nah, dude, I do the same thing. You know what? It's going to be a shit show, Greg. So I would tell all you guys, just stay away from Twitter, stay away from WGR. And I another thing I'll say, and I know this for a fact, the mental state of sports fans, right, is worse than ever, because like when we all grew up as kids, I don't know how old some of you are. I feel like I'm older than most of you. I don't know about all of you, but I feel like most of you I'm older than. Like there was just a newspaper and just a little bit of like a little like section on you know, just like some clips, some very minuscule highlights, right? On the news, you know, your local news. ESPN wasn't what it is now, cable TV, and just the type of shows that they have with the constant talking and hot take and the banter and the bullshit. Yeah, that's all I feel like I heard too. That's good to hear, because, you know, due to his age, you know, his weight and stuff, having a stroke, you know. I had a relative who had a stroke, and she was only like in her, I think she was in her mid 50s. Whole right side of her body paralyzed. Could never speak or walk right again. Yeah, those douchebags. Like, that's the dregs, right? And you see Colin Cowherd slipping, saying the late Mike Tyson. Like, yeah, Mike Tyson's not dead. Saying things like irrelevant giants. Like Mark Bavaro was an irrelevant giant. That fucking guy was irrelevant, or he wasn't like, he was fucking relevant. Yeah, those are old, Steve. Like those don't even happen anymore. You see the only thing they do with Berman, because Berman's a sacred cow. Oh, the fastest 3 seconds in sports. The only insider shit, and I've said this so many times, the only insider stuff, the only like insider stuff you would ever see was from Will McDonough. Before the game, CBS, always. Old Boston Reporter, that's what you saw. I like Sal. Sal's a good dude. Sal's a really good dude. I like Sal a lot, Kevin. I like Chris Brown too. I like Chris Brown. I like Eric Wood. I'm going to be interested to see what Steve and Chris Brown say tomorrow. And people say what they. I like Sal a lot. But the others, I mean, they're in it for bandwidth. They're there trying to generate traffic. They've got to burp out content. They've got to just blah 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 blah. They've got to basically oh, let me say something inflammatory because I can't say everything that everybody else is saying, so I have to shock jock it, this or that. You know what it is now? Now they have to have a counterpart. Now they got to push all the women in there and they've got to have their say. It's like you see some pretty chick with nails and her hair done, and I know I can't be sexist, right? But I'm gonna be. It's like let's be honest, like most women, most of them, 99.9 have never even gone out and played a touch football game, right? They've never done that. But because Mimi Kime gets fed a bunch of analytics from her program director and producers, and she's good. So guys that have played the game have to sit there like us. I can guarantee every one of us has played a fuck around football game. And oh, he is, dude. You got that right, Kevin. We've all fucked around and hit each other, right? Or hit one another, or went to the park and played rough football with the boys, or even played organized football, Pop Warner, intramural, JV, varsity, maybe lower level college. We've all done it. Like they've never ever gotten their hands dirty or knocked somebody on their ass, but they sit there and they talk about it and banter about it. And I'm just like, it's like a chick who want to talk about boxing. I'm like, do you know what it's like to step in there with a dude who knows how to kick your ass at a high level? It's a little fucking scary. Like we all have visions and ideas about how we would be in a fight, but when you fight a professional just in a sparring session, it is a fucking. I've done it a few times, and it's a fucking. It's rough. It's fucking rough. I'm not gonna lie. Like you find out real fast, like, holy shit, I got my ass kicked. He was Joe. It was it's like Joe, this, that. It's just really take care, Cap. Thanks for stopping by, bro. You're always welcome here, man. Appreciate you, bro. I'm a musical theater queen. I've never, yeah, football. It's tough, man. But it still can watch it and be enjoyed. But like, I mean, you've played football, but they've never. I mean, I can guarantee they might have thrown the football around, but they've never said, "Hey, bitch, hit me," or "Hey, dude, hit me." Like, and when you're playing football as a kid, just fucking around at the park, you know how we all fuck around. We're not playing with mouthpieces. We're not playing with pads, helmets, nothing. We're just going out there just knocking each other on our ass. That's when you learn if you like the sport or not, or really want to play it. You don't learn about playing it in pads. You learn about playing it just bone on bone, or playing it in the street, throwing a football up and down. And then you find out if you want to do it. And then when you put pads on and play, you really find out how far you want to play, how long you want to play. Because I've seen kids like they just don't like the organization aspect of it, like scheduled practices and doing all that. They didn't like that. They like to play, they just didn't like that. I can't stand Shope. If you don't have a topic worthy of his feeble mind, he won't even entertain it. And it has to be interesting to him, despite him being one of the most uninteresting. Right? You know what I said? I even commented. I said this to some media guys. I wish I would screenshot it and put it somewhere so you could see it. There was two of them, and they're nice. They're nice guys. There's a few. I said this about a few people that are mentioned here. Like if you turn on the radio, certain shows, I think you guys are smart enough to know most of it, all of it, and we're talking about radio, is the two hosts talking amongst each other endlessly, taking one or two calls, not entertaining the caller's point, and just moving back to what they were previously talking about, or going on to the next topic, or waiting to jump on with a guest, and then going to an ad. Like, none of it is about the thing that drives this show, which is the caller and engagement. That's a problem to me. Like, that's not interesting to me. I think that that's what they're there to do, but I think it's just lost on them. It's like they kind of use it as a pulpit to spew whatever ideas and philosophies that they have about whatever it is. And I personally don't like that. And then there's a certain amount of shtick they have to play and all this other politics type stuff. And radio really turned me off, like, over the last 3 years in particular. Nah, fuck that. Like 5 to 6 years, when things like that were like, I'm listening. We're here, sports, right? I'm not gonna fucking throw my politics in your face. You don't care about that stuff. You have no care about what I feel on issues, how I vote, and that's cool. And that's fine. I'm not going to force it in your face. You know what I mean? I'm not going to sit here and force you to listen to what my ideas are about that shit. But most media felt compelled to do that to everybody. And I hated that. And they said that, it's like the whole shut up and dribble thing. And, they wanted athletes to be mad about issues and not mad about others. That's the shit that I didn't like. Yeah, exactly, Bowman. It's like, all of us, exactly. We want to get away from that shit. We want to like not deal with that shit. So we want to sit down. It's like the Bill Barr clip about why women fucked up sports. It's like they infiltrated sports. That's my long-winded way. It's like they're mad because he said it in a really funny way though. He's like, why women hate it? Because we can just sit down and just be happy, right? About something, and it doesn't take much, and they're mad that they can't do that. It's like, how do we find a way to get involved in this? He did it much. He's hilarious when he did it, but it was very funny. Thanks, Utz. I appreciate that, man. I don't remember. Um, I only call I call Sal once in a blue, just because of work schedule, and I call the same thing with the One Bills Live. Like, there's other times though that I do have time and I can call them, and it's much more advantageous. But they're good dudes. You know, that's why I have you guys can say what you want here. No fear of anything reprisal. Like, oh, you don't think how I think, but get out of here, kicked out of the room. I know there's been some other fans. I even welcome other fans in here. You guys know that. But I've seen other fans that have come in here over a brief period of time. Nah, I used to, but nah, I don't. I only kept a few of them, but I can't remember. I've lost them over the years, and then they've changed around everything with Audio Vault and everything. I have no clue. But there'd be other fans that come in here and try to passively aggressively snipe, and try to just like enjoy the carnage after, and you get them out of here quick, because what they're here to do. There used to be a Dolphins kid who used to come in here frequently, and then he was always cordial. And then I remember during the Jay Ajayi games, like, all of a sudden he showed his true colors and said, oh, he started, then he came back in and apologized. And I was like, oh, okay. And then he popped back up again early this year after all that time, talking shit. What's up, Midnight? How you doing, bro? Yeah, Corey's a miserable person. Like, that, Matt. He's just, nothing makes him happy. Like, I feel bad for that kid. Like, trust me, everybody's fired tonight. Everybody's fired in Corey's book, and Peterman's the quarterback. That's the thing. That's like, there's that, what do you call that? It's like the self-loathing fan who's always miserable. Nothing makes them happy. It's kind of like this year with the Bills. Okay, they weren't the same team, right? After the bye week. but they did win, they went 8-2, right? That's a hell of a good stretch. They did go 8-2. So, you know, I think he trolls himself, Hussein. I just think the kid trolled himself. And I tried to be patient with that kid. You guys know, if you guys you remember, no, I tried my best, man. I really did. You should do a call-in or a video. I would do that, Steve. I just don't know how to. I'm tech savvy, but I have to be shown. I have to be shown how to do that stuff, and I could do it. Um, I would like to do it. I would never again, all that stuff like I see people do with Patreon and there's another one that they use now, the Twitch. I would never ever ever do that stuff to people that like give so much to me. Care what I even listen to what I have to say. Midnight's fresh in. He's coming. StreamYard. Yeah, send me a link, bro, and I'll open it up in another tab if you could. Yeah. Well, it was before that too. It was before that I tried. I really did, man. Again, in anything in the world, Eric, could happen. I mean, injuries happen, guys retire, coaches, like if Andy Reid, example, if Andy Reid wins a Super Bowl with KC and he just says, "Look, I've had my hips replaced, I've had my knees replaced. I've been doing this a long time. My one son is a mess. I've lost another one. I need to step away." I could see this, you know. It just it things there's no time for any, you know what I mean? Cincy looks good right now, but we know that organization, Mike Brown is frugal. He doesn't always pay people. They'll pay the quarterback, but I don't know how they'll pay other people. They practice under a bridge. They don't even have an indoor practicing facility, for Christ's sake. So there's those there. Everybody has questions, even them, beyond this year. So you can never. And then there's going to be a team that's nobody's coming. The Bills are going to have their issues to deal with. So there's so many moving parts, man. Sans what goes on between the white lines, it's I can't even quantify. I mean, I don't think any of us can really how many moving parts there are. That yeah, it was driving me nuts midnight. It was driving me nuts. Driving all of us nuts. I'm sorry. It was driving all of us nuts. I mean, yeah, he has potential, but he has to get better. I mean, we spoke about that a lot midnight. You just got in. There's things that they have to do. I think there's players that to do a little recap. There's players they can look to trade. There's players that they can look to move in other areas. There's players that I think are going to get better. I think Elam's on the come. I think Benford could be a guy, but that means you have to clear out some spots. I think there's defensive line issues that they need to rectify even again. I wouldn't trade Diggs, but I also would people retire. So thanks, Steve. I appreciate it, man. Just copy it and open it up in another see how I'll mess around with it, see how it works. Not now, obviously. I won't be I remember the last stream I ended. See, Oliver is the one I would look to move. I would look to trade. Um, Edmonds, I said I wouldn't re-sign him because I just feel like the two best players on defense all year, well, three. Elam's come on as of late. You could say Poyer was the best player on defense early in the year. Then the injuries caught up with him. He was already playing with the elbow. Then the knee happened. Then he had the thing. I forget, it was a spleen or liver. Daquan Jones, Matt Milano, Taron Johnson. Those guys played great this year. And Miller when he was healthy. But in terms of the whole body of the season, you have Taron Johnson, Daquan Jones, and you don't have two, you don't have Miller or Daquan Jones on the field today. So probably wanted the fucking ball. I think he wants to win, and you want players who want to win. Andre Reed, dude, there's a famous shot of Andre Reed slamming his helmet in the Super Bowl and the ear pads flying out. Like he fucking slammed that thing in the middle of the field. It was against the Redskins. I think Hyde's got another year on his deal. I think Hyde will play his last year. But I think they need, you got Jaquan Johnson, who's a free agent. You don't know what's going to go on with Hamlin. Can he continue to play? Is he going to be able to play? And then you have, Saran Neal's a special teams guy. Marlowe is just, he's just a guy you picked up. Cam Lewis is not a guy you want playing safety, so you have that. Yeah, I saw that, Bowman. That must have been, I'm sure the media loved putting that out there. If they certainly did, Hussein. They certainly did. It just seems like, they just, when it all needs to fall together, it just doesn't. It seemed like it would have last year, but it didn't. It sucks, Oh yeah, Vols. Oh, terrible. I'm here with you guys, though. You're here with me. I'm here with you. We're 3 hours deep. We're all sucking on the same shit stick. Yeah, 14-3 and going out without putting up much of a fight. It feels like, I feel like they need a few tweaks. They definitely do need a few tweaks. But I just feel like, there needs to be on defense. If you want to say what I think they need, I think they need more athleticism and physicality. Everybody's going to be looking for that, right? Yeah, but they need at linebacker, they need some instincts. I don't. Bernard's not a middle linebacker, but he only played on special teams this year. Let's see what happens with offense, though. There definitely needs to be, they just cannot stay. There's no way they can stay status quo on offense. There's just no way. Even though that they were good on offense, they can't stay status quo. They just can't. They have to mix things up. The line, everything. It's gonna be, we know Bean. Bean's aggressive. He's not gonna stay status quo. He's gonna try to make. He's not gonna try. He will make moves, and he'll make a few moves that might shock some people. So I think Bean has it in his DNA to go out and be aggressive. We all know that. I think he's perfect where he is. I think he's perfect where he is. You see, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No, I said the same thing, Midnight Radio. I just feel like you just can't, to me, you can't pick up that option and extend him. You just have to, you know, think you have to let it, you have to look for something different. Everybody wants Dorsey. Everybody wants Dorsey. Everybody, again, freshening up things. Yeah. I think everything should be looked at. I think this year, I think last year when we came into this same chat and had the same conversation after a playoff exit, I said, you know what, everybody's going to go off the deep ends, the 13 seconds and stuff. But, this year with the way having watched it, now you're another year in after this game, I'll say, okay, if you want to tell me things need to be freshened up on defense, things need to be freshened up on offense, I'll listen. Now we're another year deep. I'll listen. Read some of your comments, guys. Greg, it's all good. It helps because, like I said, like I'd be sitting here like I have a fucking sledgehammer in the other room. I don't break things. Like, fuck, what the fuck? I can't tell you guys I don't break things. I broke a mirror last season. But no, it's that's what it's for, man. That's the design. I'm sure Bowman, he's gonna do something. He's gonna do more than something. He's gonna do a few things. But again, if they make coaching changes, which they will probably do, in terms of there's always, they made how many position coaches changes did they make last year? Like 4 or 5? They made plenty of those. They'll make more. And there'll be 20 plus new heads on this roster. That's just the average. That's the way it works. For varying reasons. Read some of your comments, guys. Well, the offensive line played like shit today, that's for sure. That's why I said the whole Cromer thing with Dorsey, it just doesn't look like a marriage. It's like, I remember when they brought him in, they said, well, it's going to be our same calls. He's going to be learning our scheme. I'm like, don't you bring a coach in to like teach his way and his philosophy? It's not like you guys were world beaters on the offensive line the prior few years. Wouldn't you want to just say, like, we want something new? So if they did handcuff Cromer in that way, I think that they behoove themselves right there. And I think that the results prove it out. Well, they're going to have to play with that, Balls. They're going to have to do obviously the draft, undrafted free agency, and you're going to have to wait on guys to come loose, like lower price veterans who might want to do a one and done, or you are able to swing a few sage trades, and those can happen too. Change the water boys. Can you call them water boys? You have to call them water. Like, you have to be like you can't call a stewardess anymore. You have to call her flight attendant. Fuck yeah, man. I'm disgusted. Like, I'm everything, I'm like, I'm sad, I'm disappointed, I'm angry, I'm pissed. This fucking sucks. Yeah, I mean, they need some offensive linemen. They need some offensive linemen, and they need a little bit better scheme. I'm not gonna lie. If they change it up or decide to change it up, but it better be better in the sense that, okay, you want door number 2, Door number 2 got to be better. So give me a reason to believe it's better. Not just because it's different. There's a difference between different and better. Different isn't always better. But it's also like, the devil you do or the devil you don't. It's gonna. Remember Dorsey got the job with Josh's blessing. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. Yeah, I would agree. That's the best phrase to use. Disjointed. It just didn't look rhythmic. It didn't look like everything was like nice and fluid. There just didn't look like a lot of clean, crisp, plays. There was always a miscue or something just was off kilter. It just didn't look right. Yeah, I mean, again, there was just not a lot of. I do respect Mitch Morris a lot because I don't know if you guys watched the post game. Dion came out to talk. He's going to take the bullets, and then Morse came right up and sat there and answered the questions too. And he went on a few long, and he's more well spoken than Dion is, and not that Dion's ill spoken. He seems like he has to think about things before he says them because he doesn't want to say the wrong thing or say, not that he ever says the wrong thing, but he just has to really think about it and process it. Whereas Morris just does it more seamlessly. I respected for him for doing that. Like, he didn't leave him out there. But outside of that, the offensive line just did not play good today. Off rip. And their team heard it. Their team heard the talk, and they're humans, and they're like, you know what, we're not going to go there and lay down. We're not going to be a part of this subplot where we're just playing a role because this thing happened with DeMar, and we just happen to be the other team on the field, and they just so again, that was the only positive that came out today. All this rigged NFL, that's rigged bullshit talk is just down the toilet. I don't think they gave him enough help in hindsight, and the help they did bring in, were in the form of a couple of rookies and Jamison Crowder, and that's not enough. I mean, that's just not enough. At some point, you need to be able to just move the ball and take a step back and say, we can't always put it on him. I mean, there's plenty of games. I mean, you look at the Patriots in the Super Bowl, they were down 28-3, right? But everybody who watched that game felt like James White should have been the MVP because he's the one who got them back in the game. They were running the ball and they got a touchdown. Okay, it's 28-10. Then all of a sudden they got the turnover. And I think they went down, kicked the field goal, got the turnover, and then it fucking went. It was like, and then they went for 2, and it was like, oh shit, it's a 1-score game. Oh, is that what he has? A stutter? Yeah, I know he has some sort of like speech thing, but I've seen him talk with a team, and he's like, I just think the media, he's a little bit different. I just think he's with the team, he's more comfortable and he can flow better. He's just protecting his guys when he's doing that. When he's like, I don't want to get into too much detail and stuff. Like, he's just protecting his coaches and his team. Like, he's gonna stay up there. He's always gonna do that. I don't feel like that midnight. I don't feel like that. I don't feel like Allen was his best this year, but he was better than last year. That was a rough one. Yeah, man. I feel you, Doug. I feel you, bro. Thankfully, I don't have to sleep nothing off but that, you know, I can't imagine drinking and watching that. Young QB blessing of he screams, "This guy is going to let me be reckless." So where do I think Gabe Davis is on the depth chart? I mean, it's tough. I mean, I root for him. You know he's capable. He's still a young player. There's plenty. You hope there's plenty of room to grow. You just hope that I think he's a good number three. I think if you look at, like, for example, like, perfect example, across the field today, they have three dudes, and on most other teams, Tyler Boyd is a two, but on that team, he's a three, and you know that that's a good problem to have, man. So yeah, I mean, if they bring they br- that if when they bring in another receiver, I hope damn well he's fucking great when they throw that uniform on and that logo. Fuck, I hope he's Jerry Rice 2.0. You know, that's the thing. It's just like that's the thing. I think they'll look back on and say, like, yeah, I have 11 players acting as one, not just, okay, we have a quarterback who's a physical freak, and all of a sudden, it's just like he's got to, like, if the initial play breaks down, it turns into like this fire drill and nothing is available because everybody's 25, 30 yards downfield. He's got to scramble around to wait for them to come back for the ball, or he decides to plant and throw. I mean, and that works sometime, but it didn't work enough of the time. And then when you get into a scrape like today, it's not where you want it to be. I'm not sure that we'll look into address this moment. Yeah, I mean, the offensive line in particular, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Like, there's a couple of things I think. Could they look to trade Trey? Maybe. Would they? Maybe not. Oliver, you've got to decide on the fifth year option. Do they pick it up or not? I personally lean no. I don't know where they lean. Edmonds, I would not resign. I think they'll try to resign him, but he's gonna, you can't I wouldn't franchise him. So he could get to free agency. Um, I don't resign Poyer just because of the age and the injuries. I feel like Shakir's a good player that we can keep. Going to the offensive side, I think he can grow a ton. No, I mean, nobody's saying that, Midnight. I think we have good young players, but they need to add more. But you're always going to have a mix of guys. You're always going to have your own 30 somethings. You're going to have a few new 30 somethings. There's going to be a bunch of 30 somethings who are going to leave this team. So, you just don't want, what you don't want is just cutting off your nose to spite your face. I know it's like, what is it? It was to say it's overreaction Sunday and Monday here, but that's what we're going to do as fans. But they need to look at it and recognize they just cannot run back the same crew. That's for sure. Whether they make some of the changes we've talked about making here, that those are pretty big changes, and they need to make them. They need to make some. They can't, again, no status next year. Status quo cannot happen. That I agree with, Midnight. They need to give their young players a little bit more run, but we've seen examples where they have. So, well, he's 6 years in, and he's, 30s, and he's, pretty injury. I mean, I mean, I don't think they were ever going to trade him. They valued him too much in house, but shit. I mean, Roquan Smith just said it with 5 years, $100 million. That's 20 million per. Let's see how much the cap goes up this year. That's going to tell a big tale too. But they don't have a lot of high price guys on the offensive line. They don't have, outside of Diggs, they don't have another high priced offensive player other than Allen. Knox is their next one. So we'll see where they turn that. But again, there just needs to be a philosophical change. Don't look at Spot Track because Spot Track is shaky. With like, I don't think they're that far over because I know they pushed like 3 million to next year in the sense that they carried over 3 million they could have spent into next year, so it's like 5. I've seen the roster in way worse shape than that midnight with no quarterback. When McDermott got here, it was worse than that. It was 33 players, and it was only like, I think they had 6. And they got a 9-7 team into the playoffs that year. So never take that. As long as they're not doing Saints shit, okay. Like, I don't want them trading first round picks for crap. I don't want them doing crazy shit like that. Yeah, Eric. And a lot of their core is older. I mean, Dak's going to be 30. Their offensive line is getting older. Zach Martin is going to be 30. Terron Smith is going to be 30. Now Zach Martin's going to be 33. Dexter Lawrence is going to be 30 something, 33. They're going to have to pay Diggs's brother. I think Leighton Vander Esch is a guy they might cut. They have $44 million, but look where they've spent their money. They spent more money on tight ends in NFL history and free agency, and they're not great. Look at it this way. They have their wide receiver room is like top 5 in money. You tell me that's a top 5 wide receiver room? Not at all. They've been awful. Well, I'll say you let them walk, but you thank them for their services. You do it amicably, you do it professionally. You let them go make the business decisions they need to make. You don't make it adversarial or lead them along. You always want to negotiate in good faith. And that's all players want. Players are men. They understand it's a business. Edmonds had a father who played in the NFL. He understands it's a business. And, well, just as long as you say that, Kevin. But they definitely need to, they need to reshape that O-line, that's for sure. And they need, and I'll say this, they need a running back who can move the needle. And I don't mean turn into a running team. I mean, you know what? When you get the ball, you can hurt a team. Like, you can just, and I'm talking like hurt a team 5-6 yards. And then when you're trying to do that shit in the fourth quarter, those shits turns into 8 and 15 real fast. There's a reason my favorite Bills game is the 96 Redskin game at home. That's my favorite Bills game of all time. If you go back and watch that game, you'll understand why. It's on here in totality. Read some of your comments, guys. I'm just trying to not backtrack. Tired of watching Milano and Edmonds. I think Milano was arguably their best player this year on defense. Daquan Jones today was a big miss. Teron Johnson was a big miss. Today tackling was an issue. Definitely was an issue. But it was across the board. It wasn't any one dude. It wasn't any one dude. It was across the board. Um, oh hell yeah, they would. Hell yeah, they would. But they need to it's like if you look at the Dolphins, there's no guarantee the Dolphins are going to be as good as they were. They have to you have to hope Tyreek and Waddle stay healthy. And those are two guys who depend on their legs and their speed, and they're running 10,000 sprints, stop and goes. There's not going to be no muscle tweaks, no this, no that. Then Gasecki's probably gone. They have no clue what's going to happen with Tua. No, they need a bigger back, Eric. They need a back that can hammer teams. You need a guy who can run behind his pads and do something different. That's what I'm saying. You need a guy who can do a lot of, be a real weapon for you. But again, they'll be better on paper, but on the field, we don't know. On the field, the quarterback that comes in has to come to this media market. Their offensive line is a mess. There's no guarantees on their offensive line. Everybody's like, oh, they'll get Brees Hall, but he's coming off an ACL. Okay, but it's not like they have a good tight end, a great tight ends. Their head coach is in a must-win year. They don't have an OC. They've had people turn down the OC jobs for even interviews. So they're you know well, that remains to be seen. You know, and that Chubb deal, they're probably going to have to, you know, they might lose Xavier Howard. They might lose. They're probably going to have, Byron Jones will probably be gone. Um, no Gasecki. Their offensive line is not some, when they signed, there's a reason why Taron Armstead lasted as long in free agency as he did. His knee is completely degenerative. He's the offensive line equivalent of Jay Ajayi. He's got a degenerative, I think it's his right knee. And then he has all those other ailments, and he's playing bone on bone. He plays with a brace. So you get all these. If you look at his injuries throughout the year, it's like, holy shit. Yeah, when you have an imbalance and you weigh 300 pounds, and then you have another, on average, 250 to 280-pound guy running full force at you, hitting you, knocking you around, things are going to give. So that's what happened there. And they have no first. Well, they lost 2 first-round picks. They traded it away for Chubb, and then they lost the other one because of the whole Brady, Sean Payton thing. But I don't know. Do you guys want to still keep? You want me to keep going? You still want to hang around, or you guys need to get to bed? Let me know. How you feeling? It's been 3.5 hours. It just really sucks that they went out like that. Yeah, get some sleep, man. To make no apologies for that. I don't know about that midnight. It feels fresh, but just let's try to keep a little. I know it's hard now for me to say that. Keep a cool head. But I want some young, fresh legs, man. He's an okay player. I want something impactful. It's all good, Kevin. Then I'll be here. Yeah, man. I know, Doug. It's tough, man. I mean, I don't blame you for I mean, because some people, we heal in different ways, and some people don't want to listen or hear it. It's so fucking disgusting. That meme. I post the meme a lot where there's this little caricature just vomiting all over himself. That's me inside. Like I'm just vomiting all over myself. Like, what was that? I mean, really, really, what was that? That was just such an egg. Does KC have? I mean, he's a physical runner. He's a fast runner. He's had a good year. He's a Jersey kid. I appreciate that they give him chances. You know, even as a young player, they roll with him. I remember he had a fumble in a game, and they just kept going right back to him. I think after one series, they put him out, then they put him back in. But even their other back, McKinnon, catches a lot of passes for them and stuff, and their line plays well. I mean, they paid a lot of money for Tooney. They traded a first round pick for Orlando Brown. I don't know if they're going to pay him. They drafted Creed Humphrey in the second round. Um, so we'll see. Yeah, it was a really back and forth game. 49ers ended up winning. You know, it was kind of just it was a tough back and forth game. Ugh. We need a bigger running back. We need a bigger running back. I know my boy Jake likes Jacobs, but me, I don't want to ride a guy and pay him big money after a career year. Those investments turn out to not be good. I want young, fresh, hungry legs. And that kind of position. Yep, that was that was the last video I did. Just that kind of back. Physical, behind your pads, nice light feet. Just somebody who can, again, go watch the Washington game in '96. Those type of runs. Forget Henry. Like, are you talking about Derrick Henry? No, I think, again, I think there's been too much pounding there, dude. I think Cook is good. I just don't think he can carry the load. Well, they drafted him high in the second round. The Bills weren't going to get him. Let's draft a quarterback and not use him. Well, they used them today. I just feel like the game plan, it looked like a continuation of the first 10 minutes of the first game. They played passive, and you can't play passive against it. You gotta just admit a good team is gonna be a good team, and they're gonna get theirs, and you just gotta make them earn it. Gonna go back, look at that game. Yeah, Doug, where you just how the Bills played that game, like that level of intensity. That's again, I said it. If the Bills draft a running back in the first round, people are going to scream. I understand why. I want a guy that they can turn to, take the pressure off 17, calm a game down, break a game open. A guy he can throw the ball to, a guy who can stay in the backfield and block with some with the size to hold up. Like, he's not going to get knocked back into Josh's lap or just whiff. It was a candy land today. It was just a candy land, and Edmonds is supposed to be the guy that closed that off, and it wasn't closed off. Bijan Robinson, Texas. Again, I liked Benford. I liked the way he was playing. His injury, with the hands, coming back to play through that, and then the he got the thing with the oblique. I like the way he played. I like the steadiness in which he played. I just liked, he looked calm. He didn't look like it was too big for him. I'll casually watch Eric, but not much. And nobody's gonna respect it. It's just like, hey, if you want to handle off to Singletary, we go ahead. He's not gonna burn us. No, I mean, again, he's with the Jets. He tore his ACL. We have Elam, and that's just the way it is. So I'm gonna roll with Elam. I'm gonna root for Elam. I'm not going to root for anybody in another uniform, let alone a division rival uniform. So see, the Bills need to realize teams are playing them now. It's like the Bills need to, like, you see the way the Bills play the Pats. The Bills have to like say, you know what? All teams want to play us the way that we play the Pats, because they don't like us. They hear about us. So they've got to get up that level of pissed offness. And I recognize that's hard to do, but that's why you get paid to do it. And you know, that's your chosen profession. So that's the thing that I saw today is like the Bengals were up for it. They were like, hey, we're about this life. And the Bills, it was just like they were like a bystander. And that's a problem. That's something McDermott, because that was an egg, and he's the coach. So, he's got some culpability in that. And ultimately, I know he doesn't play the game, but he's definitely those guys have to be like, hang their head out there a little bit and be like, yo, we got our ass kicked. There's no other way to put it. They played a really soft game out there. And it was garbage. It really was. And none of us wanted that for them. I mean, we all just wanted to be able to go into, especially with the extra game, it's so tough, when you're playing 17 games instead of 16. And it's like now the incentive of the second bye isn't there. That's why I'm like, the whole thing with the 17 game, and this is what the NFL did. They said, we're going to take away a preseason game, right? Which was the 14th game. They said, we're going to take it away. They did take it away. And then, we're going to add a regular season game. Okay, more meaningful football, more division matchups at the end. So what teams did was like, okay, what we'll do, like what the Ravens did, they sat a bunch of guys week 16 and went for broke week 17. Same things the Titans did. So what you're getting now is you're getting week 16, week 17 of preseason light, where you're the Giants. Your week 17 doesn't matter. You roll out your practice squad, or your let's just say the Eagles. You roll out of a vanilla game plan, and just you're good enough to beat the Giants because you're talented. It just the way it went. It was just it's not good. And then you go to the preseason, you go to the fucking playoffs, and that whole possibility of a second bye isn't there. It's not there anymore. You have to be the 1 seed, otherwise you're not getting it. You'll be at home, but unless the number 1 seed gets knocked out next week, doesn't matter. Let me read some of your comments, guys. First year they did it when Bills got the 2. Yeah, the Bills. No, they weren't the 2 seed in 20. Yeah, they would have been that they. And then 17. Yeah. Drain energy instantly. Yeah, I just think I think that's the thing, is when you play back and you don't play downhill, or at least try to play a little more stout, and you have guys who can pick up a head of steam. Like, go watch Jamar Chase on some of those out of those backfield catches that he had. I mean, he had a chance to just, you're running downhill. You still have to tackle a 200-pound dude who's coming at you full force. Granted, you're 200 pounds, but he's got foot-pounds of energy coming at you, and you're standing still. There's just been times where I felt like they tackled well, and then there's times that it failed them. Today was one of those days, not when you have all that coming at you. You have to pick your poison. You had to say this one will kill us, these will not. And it was just like they chose death by 1,000 cuts instead, which was real frustrating. That's stupid. Because like Eric, that they were selling tickets to Cincinnati and Jags if the Jags would have won. They're selling tickets to KC in Cincinnati if that game is going to happen. So that's they all do it. It's just a again, it's a media thing. It's like, hey, let's play this up. Let's play this up. Let's act like this is pissing us off. Like let's needle them about it. You know, it appeals to the most like lowest common denominator. People who buy that stuff. It's like they were only selling the game there. Come on. Everybody's and if you had a season ticket, you were like, yeah, I don't know if you're locked into buying it, but I know you get first dibs, that's for sure. Or I don't know if it works. You have to make if you have a season ticket, you have to make a commitment. So, yeah, get to bed, crazy. Make no apologies, bro. Yeah, it's just another great addition, right? Another just a comp. I would take a cold over this shit right now. I could live through a cold. It's my pleasure, dude. Appreciate it. Need each other. We need that. We need it more than ever. Need some of your comments, guys. I stay pretty healthy. I hydrate. Um, in my mid 40s now, so past it, and being healthy is important. To physically and mentally go through this. I feel like I played a game today. I swear, this season's been long, man. It's been fucking long. I feel like I mean, I didn't play a fucking game today, but I feel like I got beat with a bat. Like I sit down like the rest of us at 3 o'clock. I know this shit's coming. And it's just like it gets to be around like 2:35, right? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I just give me another half an hour. Can we rewind the clock a half an hour to like two so I can mentally get myself right? And I'm just like, just the air. It didn't it just irritated me. It's just like, damn, just like and it started right away. Like right away, the first drive, it's like, there we go. It's like, there we go, man. It's like there it is, man. There it is. Fuck. It's like they didn't even give us any fucking any chance. Any chance. Like to at least like have some like fucking hope or some sort of like, at least it would have been a good game, a good back and forth game. It could have came down to it. But so guys, it's gonna be 1 a.m. here, East Coast. I appreciate you. Let's see what happens in the coming weeks. I don't know when I'll be back on again. I like to take a little break, get away from my ugly face for a little while. You guys probably need a big break too, just to just get away from it all and just feel. Yeah, me too, man. Me too, Hussein. I thought the same thing. I'm like, better feel better, Walls. You know, I felt like maybe they would wake him up, like, hey, wake up. Like you can't sleepwalk, like this. You can't let a team back in it. You have to go. You've been fucking up. But you know what? It's the old saying. You kind of get to a point in the season, you are what you are. And this team was woefully inconsistent. And they just They turn over the ball way too much. They didn't put teams away when they could. They played very sporadic offense, good offense, but sporadic offense. They were put in too many gotta have it situations offensively. They put their defense in a lot of binds throughout the year. Their defense held up well most times. I mean, 13-3. You can't say that they didn't, but yeah, free agency. If there's a cut, a coaching thing, something coaching wise, yeah, I'm gonna learn about that, bro. I want to make sure I'm good at it. I don't want to fuck it up, like be a half-ass with it and shit. I want to make sure you guys can do it right and do your thing and get it in and have fun with it, because that's the whole point, like interacting with you guys is the fun part of this. Otherwise, I'm just talking and I'm babbling and I talk a lot, don't say a lot of anything sometimes, but you guys have a lot of recall from games from the past too, and a lot of stuff. And so that's good back and forth, and instead of just monopolizing. But could be a lot of other teams, man. But all right, guys, you have a good night. Let's say try to have a good night, best night you can, and take care. Still love you all. Still go, Bills. Still go Bills, no matter what. Have a good one, guys. It's gonna be a long off season, but I think it's gonna be a necessary one. Let's see where this thing goes, man. Take care, guys.